Hi guys, today's recap is looks like I fell into Harem game. Smash that subscribe button and let's get started. One quiet, calm day, when the sun was softly shining through the window, suddenly there was a deafening telephone ringing. The girl picked up the phone and everything instantly changed. An unfamiliar voice announced that the game had begun. The main character realized she was trapped in a harem game. When she opened her eyes, she couldn't even remember how she fell asleep the night before, and now she wondered what that strange call had been. The young lady looked around and did not understand where she was. This room was definitely not hers, and she tried to figure out where she had ended up. A young man lay on the bed next to her, addressing her as Your Highness and asking if she was awake. She looked at him in surprise, unsure who he was, but couldn't help but notice how handsome he was, and completely naked, to boot. The young man asked her solicitously if she was cold, if she needed to be warmed up, and why she needed a blanket at all. The heroine, frightened, cried out that she didn't need anything. He asked what had happened and whether he had done something wrong during the night. The girl replied that that wasn't the issue, but then her gaze caught on another guy, red-haired and also naked. He threw on his robe without even bothering to tie it and asked if she wanted to watch again. She countered that he'd demonstrated his kindness quite well, but apologized nonetheless. The man asked if she'd heard more dirty innuendo. The girl became indignant and ordered him to finally tie his robe. The redhead simply turned away, called it all nonsense, declared that he was no longer participating in this farce, said goodbye and left. The girl was taken aback, called out to him and demanded that he stop, because she first wanted to understand what was going on here. The fair-haired man turned to Her Highness, and the girl remembered she'd completely forgotten about him. She ordered him to get dressed too, and felt like she was about to go crazy. The young man burst into tears, said that it was all his fault, and began to beg for mercy. The girl noticed wounds on his body and wondered if he had been abused. But she realized now was not the time and tried to calm him down. The lady said that if he had done nothing wrong, then he had nothing to apologize for. The heroine understood that she could not leave him to suffer, and so she asked if he understood her. When the guy calmed down, she decided to collect her thoughts. At first, she thought it was a hotel room, but it was clearly residential. And these two, their language sounded alien, though for some reason she understood it. She suddenly realized that the body she was in wasn't hers, so this was a dream, or something very similar. A text appeared in the air. A young man with a heavy heart confessed that he was forced to have a relationship with Princess Eldria, came to repent, and offered to break up, begging her to save him from despair. The lady didn't understand what it meant and asked if the guy could see it. He was surprised. What was a system message? She realized it was visible only to her. The heroine decided it wasn't worth asking any unnecessary questions for now, lest he think she was crazy. She told him to forget about it. The girl realized she needed to calm down and think things through. That game notification mentioned 3 people. One swore his love to her, but was forced to contact Princess Eldria. The red-haired lady asked who the man was. The guy clarified, "Is she talking about Prince Edson Volode?" Hearing the name, the girl realized it was the last prince of Volode, and she remembered the notification. Had she really entered the game? The cursor in front of his eyes moved on its own, showing that Prince Volode had completed the quest, receiving unforgettable feelings from Edson Volode. The lady saw the text about quote, unknown error, and realized that she had been reincarnated as a minor character in an Otami game that someone was currently playing. When she woke up, she realized, yes, she was now a secondary character in the game, and the error could have been her fault. It's hard to believe. The girl thought it was a 1 in 10,000 chance, but it could all be true. And how could she get back now? The game notification had appeared again. It said, the last prince had not become a prisoner and was now her unique ally, but if she did not rid his soul of hatred, he would leave. Soon she would become the maid of Princess Eldria and would have to spread scandalous rumors about her to demonstrate to Edson her devotion to his hatred. The girl realized someone was still playing. Judging by the notifications, the body's owner would be back soon. She smiled. Things were getting serious. The blonde-haired boy asked if she was okay. She asked his name and explained that she felt like she had lost her memory. He explained, Her Highness is Princess Viate of the Empire, the only blood relative of the Emperor. She is 23 years old and next in line to the throne. The heroine was surprised and asked what happened to the Emperor's other children, since there should be many heirs. The young man explained the Emperor had many mistresses but did not desire children. and she was an only daughter, so her position grew, and many sought her attention. The lady asked about Edson, if she'd forced herself on him. The guy looked embarrassed, but said everything was fine and asked her to continue. He explained. She didn't reject men who fell at her feet, but preferred those who resisted. Prince Edson Vlad also rejected her proposal. 2 months after the fall of the Kingdom of Vlad, she made him a military commander, and to save his country, he knelt down. The boy added that he had heard that Edson had been particularly resistant to the order to share her bed, but the reasons were unknown. The heroine thought, she knows the reasons. Edson loved the game's protagonist, but for her sake, he was forced to cheat on the woman he hated. For the game's characters, such stories are commonplace, but seeing it in person is something completely different. The lady said that if that was the case, she was not the best princess, and asked why he stayed around. The young man answered, he is her concubine, and she has given shelter to him, a worthless and inconspicuous man. Hearing this, the heroine thought, well, of course, such a princess must have a concubine. And judging by his fear, she treated him terribly. The princess turned to Nadrek and asked if she could trust him. He assured her she could. She said that then he should help. A few days later, the maid said that Her Highness had been behaving strangely lately, not leaving her room at night and keeping only one man with her. The maid, seeing her mistress, was surprised and asked if she had finally come out. The princess merely replied that they hadn't been too noisy. The maid turned pale and admitted she had committed a mortal sin. The heroine wondered if she was speaking correctly, and whether Princess Eldria would have spoken the same way. The girl realized she'd learned a lot about the world and Nadrek in 3 days. She looked at the dress. Beautiful, but very uncomfortable, and couldn't get used to the clothes here. She doubted whether she should even get used to it. After all, the body belonged to the Princess of the Empire, the sworn enemy of the main character, Eldria Viate. The heroine admitted she was lucky. She was stuck in a harem simulator, and as a universally hated villain with a tragic ending. The future seemed bleak. The woman decided she had to survive at any cost and shed her role as the villain. The only clue was the system messages. But she'd like to have a menu of choices. It would be a powerful weapon. The maid approached Her Highness and asked if she needed anything. The heroine decided she had to do everything possible and ordered Edson Vlad to be summoned immediately. The red-haired man was surprised and asked what had happened. Edson, the same man from the in-game notifications. The lady offered him a seat first. He replied that this would be his last service. The lady asked if this meant he wouldn't come again, even if she invited him. She thought the princess had been interested in him and that he was unhappy. He had been bullied and was now afraid of being dragged into bed again. Edson stated that she always did what she wanted and asked if she was tired of herself. The princess realized he was at his limit. But she knew things would be different now. The notification told her Edson had left her for a while and it was unknown when he would return. She could wait, look for Princess Eldria, or go to Rovia, who was currently in her room. The girl saw the name Rovi, one of the 3 concubines that Nadrek had mentioned. She thought it was a pity. If she had chosen option B, she would have found out who was going to put her into eternal sleep. The notification read, Rovia had tried to kiss her. He complained that she hadn't come to him for a long time, and that if he didn't accept his feelings, his love would weaken. But if we stall, Edson might return. We need to choose wisely. Accept the kiss, reject it, or sleep with him. The heroine looked at Edson in surprise and realized that it seemed he alone wasn't enough for this lady. She said, let him do what he wants. The man stood stunned. She smiled and asked if he regretted letting him go so easily. He said it was nonsense, and she promised to grant him a plot of land. Edson asked what she was talking about. The lady explained that she had no plans and added that if he wanted, he could take anyone with him, even his lover. She looked at him and thought he was sure she was going to do harm. She wondered if he would run away with that woman. Suddenly, Edson grabbed her by the neck. The maid screamed in terror, saying that the guards were outside and she would call them. The princess declared that everything was fine. The man ordered the maid not to touch her. The lady offered him to do what he wanted and asked if he had enough courage. Edson threatened if she laid a finger on his beloved, he would put her into eternal sleep. He would make her pay for everything, for the innocent victims and for treating people as nothing. He said that he would tell everyone what dirt was hidden behind her beautiful appearance, and he was sure that she would definitely not like it. The heroine asked if he knew her well and whether she would start chattering. After her words, the man fell to his knees, begged for mercy, and said that if Uriel was not touched, He did not care what happened to him. The girl thought, he sees a villain in front of him, but the object of his hatred is not her. The princess reflected. She wasn't to blame for his suffering. She was just as much a victim, cast out of her world and trapped in this game. Why should she have to listen to his curses? Eldria asked if all he was capable of was pathetic insults, and said she could make his every word come true. The heroine understood. In the game, Uriel was jumping around in other people's beds, and Edson was sacrificing himself for her, and she couldn't explain the truth to him. The lady reassured him. She would not do anything to him or to Uriel unless he wished it. Then she said that he was pathetic, she was tired of him, and even the desired toy becomes boring to her when it is received. The maid noticed that she looked unwell. The mistress replied that she was simply tired and asked the maid's name. She introduced herself as Hess, Her Highness's personal maid. The princess allowed her to go and rest. Lying in bed, the heroine reflected on how tired she was. She had changed the course of the game, and now she could only watch what would happen next. The system reported that, within a limited time, she had established a connection with Rovia and won his heart a little. Then she asked, was Edson just a distraction for her? The red-haired man asked if she hadn't heard the screams of the innocents who were dying because of her. The princess thought her words would be cruel, but she had no choice. She said she would tell him where his beloved was now, who she was with, and what she was doing. After all, they were just game characters. Edson ordered her to be silent, and the girl mentally repeated that she only wanted her life back. The lady said that the woman was now with her concubine, on the very same bed where she had been with Edson. Having said this, she assumed he'd rush off to check. But it seemed he lacked the courage. Maybe he truly believed her? In any case, broken trust can't be repaired. The system reported that Rovia's interest in her had waned slightly. The heroine was surprised. Everything had seemed to be going perfectly. Then came the revelation. Rovia longed for her love, dreamed of a future, but her insincerity gave rise to doubts. The main thing was to hide his connection with Edson. 29 days remained. The heroine didn't understand why Rovia had doubts. The system added, she failed the consolation due to inattention. The strength of her passive skill, consolation, and the level of sincerity decreased. The young lady decided that she was doing the devil's work and let it all go to hell. She was fed up with everything today. As she fell asleep, she heard someone's voice. She rubbed her eyes. Nadric was standing in front of her. He sat down on the bed and asked if she had really forgotten him. She asked, surprised, why he had come, since she couldn't admit to everyone that she had lost her memory. Nadric said he heard no one had come to see her. Then he began unbuttoning his shirt. The lady asked what he was doing and smelled alcohol. He was clearly drunk. He said that she hadn't called him for a long time, that there were always men to replace her, and now that she was sleeping alone, it seemed she was even bored with that. Nadric claimed that Her Highness never called him first, and therefore he had to come himself. The girl countered that she was tired and wanted to sleep, and thought, if her feeling was correct, she knew what to ask. Where was Uriel? The boy was surprised and asked what she was talking about. The girl, however, didn't understand. Was this really Rovia from the in-game notification, the same one who was with Uriel? A system alert flashes. Edson wants to connect, but if you agree, Rovia will see it. If you refuse, Edson might make an offer you won't be able to escape. Options: A. Refuse. B. Lie and weasel out. C. Accept the connection. D. Burst into tears. The heroine smiles. Tears without reason are a sign of weakness, and she thinks Uriel is hopeless, trying to balance her time between Edson and Rovia. The princess touches his face and says he's just as she thought. After meeting that woman, he dared to come to her. A man should be loyal, but today she's showing him mercy. Let him show kindness and leave. The guy asks if she's angry and reminds her that he's her concubine. Then he wonders why she's always so cruel. The heroine wonders, why is she cruel? Hasn't he been with someone else? She advises him to be more honest and not hide behind empty tears. The guy is shocked. How can she say that? And why can't he do it alone? The heroine thinks, he's just a game character. Where do such emotions come from? Nadrika asks that today be only his. The lady is shocked. What is he even talking about? She thinks that, even in this body, she can't do everything she wants. He begs her to give himself to him tonight, reaches for her lips, but falls asleep. The system reports. Rovia's hesitation has been counted as a failure. An error has been detected. A penalty has been assigned. Rovia Zoran's interest has been reset. Rovia's route is temporarily closed. To reopen it, you must successfully complete a hidden quest. The heroine is shocked. Another mistake. What does this even mean? Suddenly, the knights call her. Trouble has happened. She asks in surprise what happened. The guard reports. Prince Volodya and a palace maid have been caught trying to escape. The heroine realizes a hidden quest has begun. According to the script, Uriel ran away at night with Edson, the princess's lover. Now everyone has learned of their secret affair. And her task is to protect their lives. The maid whispers that Her Highness is pressuring even the servants. And who knows what she'll do to Prince Volodya? Another maid suggests that this could end in execution. After all, there is no one in the palace more cruel than Her Highness. The princess asks them both, why did they do this? Is this a way to request eternal sleep? Edson reminds them. She herself gave them permission to leave. The princess agrees but clarifies she didn't allow them to escape. He screams that he was afraid she might take Uriel away from him. Who knows what she might come up with? The lady says she promised them nothing. But it's clear from his gaze that he doesn't believe her. Then she looks at the maid and realizes, for the first time, she's seeing the real her. Uriel is the game's protagonist, the one whose choices are reflected in the system. There's not a trace of fear on her face. She's confident that the secondary character won't put her into eternal sleep. The main character doesn't understand why she feels like Uriel is familiar to her, as if they've met before. Elson asks to be put into eternal sleep, but to let the girl go. Isn't his life enough to pacify the princess? The princess clarifies, is it true? Does he value this girl so much? Or is the life of the royal family so cheap? The man reassures the maid. Everything will be fine. Then he tells his mistress that the most important thing is to protect her. The system reports. Princess Eldria knows the truth about the betrayal and her patience is wearing thin. Her anger must be appeased, otherwise Edson may die. Uriel chooses the answer. She has no connection to Edson. She screams that he dragged her away by force. The princess promises to let them go. Edson is shocked. The lady adds, she'll give them so much money they'll never spend in their lives if they never return. The heroine is confident that as long as Uriel is nearby, Edson will not think about revenge and will not harm her. The princess understands. Things are more complicated with Uriel. Edson isn't enough for her. She'll want to stay, but it would be better to give in. The lady offers them a choice. Rovia enters the room and asks the maid, what is she doing with him? The heroine understands. Now Edson has seen it all for himself. He's realized Uriel has another man. And though he tries to hide his feelings, the wound is deep. The fair-haired guy asks the maid, how could she do this? The princess thinks, just recently he was pestering her, and now he's creating a melodrama with Uriel. Why should she watch this instead of precious sleep? The heroine tells Rovia that he was on his knees. She smiles. It's up to her now to clean up their mess. The princess declares he is clearly unhappy with his role as a concubine, so she releases him. He is free. The lady doesn't understand his reaction. She said, they can do whatever they want. They can even leave together. Edson objects. He doesn't want to leave. Lady asks why. Rovia remarks he has zero pride. The system says the broken heart item can't be reassembled. Now Edson won't leave her, no matter what she does. The item might disappear. She needs to be careful. The heroine looks at Uriel, who laughs. She seems amused by all this, and with that, the scene ends. The maid, in despair, says she doesn't want to leave the palace. Leaving with this man would be foolish. She came to serve Her Highness. Uriel insists that she is innocent and asks for permission to stay and serve personally. The princess understands. She is trying to probe her weakness. The maid says she didn't want to run away. She was forced to. Edson asks her to shut up. She doesn't want to die, and she doesn't want to leave. Now she says she wants to serve. How much does this capricious Uriel demand? The heroine understands. Driving her out is not an option. She will return anyway and plunge her into eternal sleep. She must end her life before she has a chance to survive. Her Highness allows her to do whatever she wants, but becoming a maid is out of the question. The maid thanks him. Edson declares that he too will stay. The princess thinks, well, this is just the beginning. The game starts. The system reports, quest complete. Rovia's interest reset saved. Ruth has entered waiting to disappear status. Reward, life. Rovia asks, Why doesn't Her Majesty find out anything from him? She reminds him she told him to leave. He asks if she will throw him out, even if he doesn't want to. It's unfair. The princess replies, "What did he expect? He betrayed her, but he didn't bear responsibility. Let him name at least one reason to leave him." The guy is shocked. Did he betray her? He says he took her feelings seriously. Ever since he first saw her in the library, he's been dreaming about her. The heroine admitted that she was bored. She hoped he would entertain her better. And she asked if maybe he could do it with someone else, and she could watch. After the first night, she stopped looking for him. Then he realized she had made a toy of him. She tells him to come when he's sorted himself out. She'll give him freedom for all his past torment. To herself, she adds, "There are enough problems as it is." She understands. She can't put Uriel into eternal sleep, even if it would save her. She has no power to take someone's life. She believes the game could end with a simple game over. No casualties. They exist in the same world. She can't take any risks. It seems she's missed her last chance. Or maybe it's the other way around. Everything is working out for the best. Uriel has been sent away. Now she can keep an eye on Uriel while she's in the palace. The next day, Nedrika asks if she is awake and brings water. The lady thinks, of all the people she met here, only he remains kind to her. He asks if everything is okay. There are shadows under her eyes. She says she's tired. She's been suffering from insomnia since she transferred into this body. She notices a bruise on his neck and asks, was this her doing? The princess thought it was terrible. She didn't want to delve into someone else's past. But she still asked, was it she who left the bruise? The guy says he's getting treatment. The lady warns him not to lie. He insists he's really getting treatment and would never lie. She says that she believes and asks, where is the doctor who is responsible for him? The maid reminds him she is forbidden to touch the imperial family's property, but the young man insists he's feeling better. He's treating himself. The princess confesses she's forgotten something. She asks for her medicine. The maid is surprised, and the lady asks, is she also forbidden to touch? The maid gets scared and runs to carry out the order. The lady orders Nedrika to undress. He is surprised, but complies. She asks for patience. Seeing the wounds, she is amazed at how cruel people can be. When she finishes bandaging him, Nedrika thanks him. She notices he didn't even look at her. He's confused. She's doing this for him. It's touching. The lady reminds him. She already told him, don't show weakness in front of others. The young man replies, this is exactly how he wants to be before Her Highness. Isn't that possible? Eldria thinks his passion is merely a figment of his belief that a real princess is caring for him. He doesn't see the real her. She replies, it's impossible. She says that's it. He clarifies, there are still wounds lower down. The guy takes her hand and begs her to heal. At this moment, a maid runs into the room. Her Majesty is being called before dinner. The lady says she understands and thinks. Just a little more, and she would have succumbed to his charm. The emperor asks Rhea why they haven't spoken alone for a long time and what happened last night. Elport Enzo Cecilia is her brother, the current emperor. The heroine thinks, you can't tell who he is by looking at him. Then she replies, nothing special. He says he's glad to see her. She muses. He's happy now. But what will happen if he realizes this isn't his sister? She knows. The princess and the emperor are close. He turned a blind eye to her vices. But why did he allow her to fall so far? The emperor says he has important news. The heroine thinks she's acquired a kind of immunity. He asks if she is listening and reminds her that she was interested in the war and the results of the peace with Rothschild in the Far East. His Majesty declares that their alliance will dissolve at the end of the month. The defeated country of Borne was unable to pay its indemnity and split into two powers. Enzo continues explaining. The heroine thinks she's made a mistake. If you're going to play the role of a princess, you even need to know politics. The emperor announces that he is thinking of handing over power to her and asks how she feels about that. The heroine is stunned. She asks, did she hear correctly? He says, if my sister is unhappy, let her do what she wants. But at times like these, it's better to strengthen ties. He reassures her. She has plenty of helpers. He says her loyal knight is just returning, so there shouldn't be any problems. The princess is surprised. Really? She wonders who he's talking about. The emperor says he returns with great merit and asks what she will do. Rhea clarifies should she receive him with honors. He's relieved. She didn't seem interested, and he thought she'd forgotten about him. She asks, how could she? But inside she thinks, She doesn't even know who it is. Enzo reminds her, it was she who sent him to hell. 5 years ago, right after their wedding, he went to the front. The heroine is shocked. Another of the princess's favorites has appeared. The emperor says he even wondered if their discord had started the war. But who would have thought? He would return alive. And victorious, too. The heroine realizes their relationship is at its worst. She sent him to die, and he returned victorious. The system reports, Border Knight Iklot Physis will arrive at the palace in 10 days. He wants to personally meet the girl with whom he has been corresponding for a long time. Before his arrival, she must become the princess's personal maid and arrange a chance encounter. He will be the second concubine. 9 days remain. The maid notices that Her Highness is deep in thought and is curious about what. The heroine thinks, this madman, the emperor, decided to dump all the responsibilities on her. But how could she have known that everything would turn out this way? The emperor said he didn't understand the changes that had taken place in her soul, but after last night, he believed that she could handle the negotiations. She had enough wisdom and mercy. The princess realizes that she looks different now, and the soul in this body is also different. The real princess has disappeared, and the one everyone wants has appeared, and it sounds like a bad joke. His Majesty admits that she lacks experience, and therefore Sir Iklot will help with the intricacies of negotiations. Rhea asks if he'll remain her concubine. Enzo is surprised by the question and replies that he will, until she sends him off to war again. The girl insists that he hates her, but the emperor only reminds her she knows what kind of person he is. The princess thinks that she should deal with one, but there is a whole line of favorites. The system reports Edson's note has been found. He's waiting for her in the usual place. Then it clarifies, she's going to Rovia, and she wonders who she'll choose, Edson or Rovia. Eldria realizes that after the events of the night, she is creating complete chaos. She has already had sex with 2 men. She thinks it's not Edson and remembers she was supposed to escape. Then she tells the maids she needs to go out. The maids are frightened and forbid her to do so. The heroine doesn't understand what the princess has done before to cause such a reaction. The lady orders only one servant to be left behind. She screams, rushes toward her, and falls to one knee. The young lady notes that this maid is nothing but surprises, and that just a little more would have pinned her to the floor. The maid begs for forgiveness and is ready to do anything to atone for her guilt. The heroine asks her name. She introduces herself as Daisy and begs him not to put her into eternal sleep. She's terribly guilty. The girl notices that she herself laughed unconsciously and asks Daisy if she is okay and if she hit her head. The princess says she'll spare her if she stops crying. The maid, shocked, asks if this is true and means there will be no punishment. Rhea tells her to tell her where there is a secluded spot in the palace park. This will be the punishment. Stepping outside, the lady feels a little more revived. The day isn't over yet, and she's already swooning, as if a hurricane has swept through her world. The terribly hateful Edson, the love-hungry Rovia, and the frighteningly incomprehensible Iklot. No love, no trust, no clarity. She doubts whether she can return to her true world, and what will happen if she has to live forever as someone else's princess. Eldria doesn't know what to do, and suddenly notices Edson is standing by the tree. The system reminds her of the note again. He's waiting for her there, and again asks who she'll choose, Edson or Rovia. Uriel apologizes to the young master. She almost acted foolishly. Seeing her and Edson during the interrogation, she understood everything and can't escape with him. He asks if she stayed because of him, and the girl confirms yes. Edson realizes it's a lie. Now he clearly sees why she dated him, and like her, he feels no remorse. Uriel is happy that he didn't hate her, and assures her that he is speaking sincerely now. He thinks that neither of them loves the other, but the maid hugs him, trying to show her honesty. She says she wants to meet the princess. He doesn't understand why, but she asks. She has no one else to turn to. The gentleman promises to help. Uriel is surprised. The system says Rovia's interest is 0. This infuriates her. How could he have cooled off so much? She realizes that after meeting the princess, the game reset all her progress. If this continues, her route will be closed. The maid is at a loss. What should she do? She should be the protagonist, but instead, she's just watching. She cries out, it's time for him to return to her. Uriel sees the princess's concubine and rejoices. She had a plan for him. The main character greets Rovia and understands. This is the place where he should meet Uriel. The guy leaves, but the girl calls him. They could go their separate ways. pretending not to notice each other. But she can't leave things like that. The lady grabs his hand and asks where he's going. He's surprised. They're not close enough to grab each other like that. The heroine asks if he'll leave without even saying hello. The system reports. Rovia doesn't trust her. 3 answers are given: become his personal maid, beg for forgiveness, or hide the reason. The lady recalls leaving Edson for Rovia, so her role as personal maid is important to her, but cruelty is out of the question. The gentleman asks if she's changed her mind. The princess thinks she's already said she's tired of him. It would be strange to kick him out again. The lady invites him to stay until he decides to leave, but without the status of a prisoner or hostage. Rovia is surprised. What will he become? She replies that she will give him the opportunity to live here with his own status. He doesn't believe it. Is this possible? The heroine asks him where he would go after escaping. She suggests paying rent or getting a job. He's shocked. Does she even understand what she's saying? She replies, "They're like strangers now." The lady admits she remembers her past and knows he hates her, but she suggests he forget the animosity, otherwise he won't achieve anything and she won't forget such a gesture. She adds, he can even live here with his beloved. She will accept it. He asks if this is the end, since she gave up on him so easily. The heroine understands. He is devastated and confused. Her words have thrown him off track. He exclaims, with such petty feelings, she destroyed his country and plunged his people into eternal sleep. If he repays her in kind, will it make things any easier? He sees her tears and asks why she is crying, because this is not at all like the one he knew. He offers to confess. Is she mocking him again? The heroine wonders. How will she tell him she's the wrong princess? They are so alike, both strangers in this world and powerless to change anything. She apologizes and says she's sorry. She thinks, if she had shown up earlier, he wouldn't have had to suffer so much. Rovia screams, telling her to stop and stop messing with his head. A maid comes up to them and asks Edson how long he has been waiting for her. The heroine does not understand why she is hiding and why she burst into tears in front of him. Uriel hugs the young gentleman and apologizes. He replies that he didn't wait long, but she says that's not why she's apologizing. He says that he only needs her and will explain everything later. She has the right to know. Eldria claims she'll later explain why she decided to stay instead of running away. The protagonist realizes he loves this girl too much. A man so devoted is hard to find. It's even funny in its absurdity. The system informs him that, under these circumstances, he still chooses her. And it offers him options: break up, thank her, and move on to the relationship, or pursue it right now with particular passion. The heroine is shocked. Here and now? What are the options? Maybe the system is playing a joke. She thinks. Even if she offers it, Edson will refuse. He knows where she's hiding, so option A is her best option. The lady thinks Uriel is out of control. The master tells her to wait. Suddenly someone sees, but the maid is certain there's nothing to hide now. They kiss. The maids ask if Her Highness has returned. The heroine thinks. She stood there until sunset, until they had kissed their fill, and got a migraine. She understands. She and Edson are similar, but he has someone dear to him, unlike her. Returning to the room, she sees Nadric. His face is gloomy. What happened? He says that woman touched him. The lady asks, which one? And thinks, Nadrika is sure she's a princess with amnesia, so she must know. She asks if this is Uriel, and wonders if Nadrika is one of Uriel's targets in the game. The princess asks if he slept with her. Nadrika screams in horror that he would never do that. The heroine looks at him. Even when he cries, it's beautiful. You could watch him forever. He and Uriel are definitely not close. She asks, who dared to touch her concubine? Nadrika replies, even if they covet him, he won't be able to please Her Highness. She asks why he remained silent, and he says he was afraid she would send her into eternal sleep. The lady asks if he thinks she's capable of that now. He's sure she is. She asks where he was touched. The guy looks at her shyly, and she kisses him. He says he doesn't remember exactly, but if she repeats it, he'll remember. She kisses his hand. There, he sits very still. He likes it too much. A man held captive by guards bursts into the room. He introduces himself as a gentleman from House Lebanon. The knight explains that he was eager to meet them. They tried to throw him out, but he broke through. The man falls to his knees and admits his guilt. The princess orders him taken away. He shouts, demanding that she not touch him, assuring her that she is pretending. After all, he is her favorite, to whom she promised status. The princess says this won't happen and orders him locked up for the night. He desperately screams that he doesn't believe her. He yells that these nights are rusty, and that as soon as he becomes her concubine, the first thing they will do is chop off everyone's heads. The heroine thinks. As soon as they appear before her, they tremble. The princess, apparently, thought nothing of ruining other people's lives. She understands. She doesn't need a life like this, where everything depends on her, and every gesture causes fear. The princess approaches Nadric and asks if it's true that others can't touch him, because he belongs to her. Then she hugs him. She says that he always did what he wanted, and didn't do anything that made him uncomfortable. Nadrika objects. He doesn't like what she doesn't like. She replies, "That's how it was before, but now she doesn't want it." The lady says she wants him to be freer and happier, and kisses him on the cheek. He blushes. He looks very cute. Eldria says that if something is unpleasant for him, then it is unpleasant for her too, and that is good. The maid brings tea. The princess asks how long she's been working there. She replies, 4 years. The princess says, that's a lot, and adds, Nadrika confessed frankly to her yesterday, and she learned that many don't take her seriously. The maid is frightened and asks what he told her. She asks him to believe her. She is innocent. But the mistress says she knows everything. The maid falls to the floor, begging for mercy. She has committed a mortal sin. The princess says, if he wants to live, he should answer all questions honestly. The knight reports that they've been caught, as she ordered. Eldria looks at the servants and says, since they recognized each other, it means they know of a common crime. The heroine declares, their shamelessness has crossed all limits. She knows everything. She thinks they had a bad example, both the princess herself and the owner of the palace, who could lure anyone into the bedroom and throw them out. The princess raises her hand. The knight understands and draws his sword. The maid screams, reminding her. She promised to spare her if she told everything. The lady says she doesn't want to stain her shoes with the red liquid and orders them to be taken out. She doesn't want casualties, but she couldn't help but threaten them. Eldria says, I was thinking of beheading you as a warning, but I'll give you another chance. There won't be a second time. The next day, the maid tells the others. Her mistress is incredible, and her highness is much cooler than she thought. Drazi asks, who's the cool one? The maid replies, her highness, of course. Hearing this, the head maid chuckles and asks if she's had enough of those conditionally edible mushrooms. Drazi assures her that's not the case, saying that the mistress is a pure sweetheart and that serving her highness is a blessing. The maid, dumbfounded, asks if she's lost her mind and reminds her that the princess has killed several servants again. Meanwhile, she's thinking about how infuriating it is that she had to sleep with some armored freak just to cover up. Drazi claims that if her highness did this, then those people deserved it. The dark-haired maid indignantly asks what she even knows, and is certain that Drazi simply hasn't been the target of her true wrath. Drazi is genuinely surprised by such thoughts, and says that, yes, she did screw up a bit, but the mistress forgave her. So now she works as hard as she can, and asks why she should be punished. The maid asks in horror what she has done, and is even afraid to hear the answer. Drazi explains that she accidentally stepped on her highness's dress, slipped, and fell right onto the princess, who caught her. She adds that her highness is a sweetheart. At dinner, the main character says that she wants to discuss one important matter with him. The emperor replies that her requests are always ready to be heard and wonders why she hesitates. He suggests they hurry, as he promises no refusal exists for her. The lady wonders if he would be as warm if he knew that she was not his sister, and then says, the fate of Prince Villan must be decided, because there is no reason to keep him close now. Enzo agrees. Keeping a man who had fun with the maids near her is bad for her authority. The lady says that if the role of concubine isn't right for him, he should find another position that matches his title. The gentleman approves of the idea and promises to consider it. Ria says that she decided to leave the maid who wanted to run away with him, because she begged him to give her a chance to prove her loyalty. The emperor says her name is Uriel. Hearing this, the girl is surprised how he knows the name of some servant. His Highness explains that he has been receiving reports of what is happening in the palace and describes Uriel, a beauty with black hair and scarlet eyes. The lady notices that he's quickly diverted the conversation, but suspects the emperor is definitely interested in Uriel, and she's curious whether their romance will be featured in the game. The princess asks Hess how things are going. She replies that she did everything as ordered. A few days ago, the main character overheard their conversation while she was waiting and announced that they needed to be ready to leave the palace tonight. The lady says she will spare them, but that does not mean there will be no punishment. Hess reports that she's prepared papers for an immediate dismissal. The princess, however, decides otherwise. They will be transferred to another location, where they will become her eyes and hands, and they are forbidden to communicate with their former servants. The lady warns, if they hide or lie again, they will pay. From this moment on, their lives belong to her. The princess orders people to be sent to the imperial palace to find out whether His Majesty has encountered Uriel. In the morning, the mistress looks at the sleeping boy and thinks he's a real angel. She admired him all night and couldn't get enough. She understands that in a strange world, his feelings have become her only support. Nadrika wakes up and wishes her good morning. She asks if he's rested well, kisses him, and realizes she couldn't have survived without him. The lady notices that she is gradually getting used to the palace, and it's good that she is a princess here and not a servant. The maids, seeing her, are surprised. The pantsuit suits her incredibly well. The lady understands that she must not copy the princess's behavior, but maintain a delicate balance so that the differences are not obvious. Drazy looks at the lady and decides that since she is dressed up to go out, it means she will go for a walk again, and she needs to accompany her. The mistress notices how all the maids are eager to go with her and asks who will join her. The maid says that the day is wonderful and hands the princess the prepared tea. Drazy says she's incredibly glad the mistress took her along. The lady replies that she's pleased to hear that. The maid shows her a wreath she wove especially for her. The princess admires it and asks to be taught how to weave one like it. A couple of minutes later, the lady makes the wreath herself. The maid is amazed by her talent and asks if she would like to give it to someone. The lady is surprised to know who exactly and asks if it's about Nadrika and why she doesn't call him by name. Drazy explains that the name of a member of the imperial family cannot be spoken casually. Everyone calls him that man, and so does she. Ria asks if they call him, for example, her husband. The maid explains, the status is unofficial, and husbands are usually called by their last name, which the former slave doesn't have. She thought that man was a court nickname. Drazy says that even then, their position is higher than that of ordinary people. The mistress understands. She suspected there might be a slave system here, but she didn't expect Nadrika to be a slave. He is the most powerless in the palace, and, in her opinion, he considers it his duty to endure everything. The lady understands. This is precisely why he so desperately needs her protection. At that moment, an alert appears, revealing Princess Eldria Viate's weakness. She has failed the attempt. She is left alone, and it's a yes or no. Uriel clicks no. The notification says that to succeed, she needs to wait for the right moment. The girl sighs. Another failure. And she thinks it was a hint. The guy turns to her, and she asks in surprise what he is doing here. Rovia asks if he can ask why she came to Her Highness's palace, and reminds her that he told her to wait. Uriel asks how much longer they have to wait, since he's only making promises. She believes in actions, not words. The girl asks him to honestly admit that he is unable to help her, and asks if he thinks that she will not find another way. The guy touches her shoulders and asks her not to be angry, but to trust him. Then asks if he is her lover. Uriel looks at him and realizes he's lying. She knows the interest level has been reset. He's probably pretending because he needs her for some reason. The gentleman says that if she explains why she wants to meet the princess, he will find the best way to arrange it, and reminds her, after that night, she should not catch the lady's eye. The girl, dumbfounded, asks if that's why his mistress didn't invite him after that night. Silence follows. Then she says she's spot on and asks if he doesn't understand that his mistress learned of their affair, but still kept her in the palace. The maid claims that her mistress has lost interest in him. The boy agrees. He knows it. The girl is stunned. What does he even understand? It's as if this woman has become a different person. A different aura, gestures, habits, even facial expression. She can't understand what's happened to her. Uriel guesses. All this could be the consequences of her intervention, which she did not even suspect. The mistress asks the maids what they've learned. A maid reports that no one has seen Uriel Rose in the imperial palace. We checked with His Majesty's maid. The information is accurate. The princess wonders why Uriel hasn't met the emperor yet. She understands that it's good that their paths haven't crossed, but if the emperor himself intervenes, she can't sit idly by. Uriel is looking for her weak spot. Hess asks where to put the wreath. The princess tells him to leave it on the table and thinks it's time to tell Nadrika that they need some time apart. Rhea reflects. Nadrika didn't come last night, even though she waited for him until late. But she doesn't want him sitting in her bedroom for days. The maid announces, Master Zuran has arrived. The mistress orders him in. The man reports that, by order of the emperor, from today onwards he will train her highness. The lady is surprised. It's Rovia, and she doesn't understand what he just said. The man explains. According to legend, from early times, educating the workforce and strengthening defense were the foundation of the country. He asks if the princess is listening. The lady confirms that she is listening and thinks she should have immediately found out who Zuran was, because she did not expect that it was Rovia's last name. Rhea recalls, when she asked the emperor to select a diplomatic advisor, he said something strange. He would tell Zuran in secret that she needed him, and smiled, saying that he understood her feelings. The lady understands. The emperor has decided she wants to bring back the concubine, who has grown cold toward her. Her pride prevents her from calling him personally, so she needs his help. But she doesn't understand what he thinks of her sister. Rovia asks him to repeat his words. The princess explains that after the war and colonization, the tribute received became the foundation of the empire. She asks, was it only war and colonization that strengthened them? The man confirms and adds, the harvest from the land was not enough for the growing population. He explains, there was a shortage of agricultural equipment, dwindling land for cultivation, and a cold climate in the center of the continent. Rents rose, while crops perished from frost. The lady is surprised. What did they do? He replies, they used magic. The empire, foreseeing its decline, opposed the expulsion and extermination of the mages. Rovia explains that thanks to magic, the empire's borders expanded greatly, although they could have expanded even further, but then a larger army and weapons would have been required. The man warns, mindless exploitation of the lands is fraught with protests and losses. It's more profitable to keep them as colonies. Zuran says, the mild climate kingdom of Born was originally Rothschild's prey. Unlike Velad, the climate there is favorable. The lady asks about Velad. He explains, there are mines there with valuable minerals, gold, silver, rare stones, marble, an excellent source of income. The princess objects. She thought she had completely destroyed Velad. Rovia wonders if she has a glimmer of conscience. The lady asks, is this his conscience? The man says he doesn't believe her. Even if she's honest, it's not entirely her fault. The emperor cares for her, but is too calculating to pass up the opportunity. He adds, Her Highness wanted to seize Prince Edson Velad, and the emperor wanted his lands and mines. Their interests coincided. Remorse does not suit her. Rovia asks if she'll apologize, if it's too late. Lady replies, it's never too late, even if nothing changes. The princess adds, you can't change yourself without looking back. Guilt won't atone for your sins, but you can prevent future mistakes, and that's important. The lady suggests ending the lesson. She is tired and wants to rest. The man is surprised. How can she feel sorry for anyone but him? And who changed her so much? Nadrika suddenly enters the room. Rovia is surprised. How dare he show up uninvited? The boy apologizes, but the master stops him. He's a puppet, a slave for the pleasures of bed. Follow orders and don't show up unless called. Rovia asks, how can he allow himself to be imposed upon Her Highness? The boy declares, he is no longer a slave. The gentleman asks, does this negate his lowly origins? And reminds him, remember your place, behave with dignity, and don't delude yourself. Rovia recalls a conversation among the maids. They say Her Highness keeps only that man close to her, seemingly ignoring other men. And the boy acts as if he matters, even though she's incapable of genuine love. Nadrika asks, who is he to say such a thing? And adds, he betrayed His Highness and didn't even try to apologize, and now he's teaching someone. The concubine admits, he's impudent, but at least he's not a beast, devoid of loyalty and compassion. Rovia asks, what's the point of asking for forgiveness if it won't be granted? The boy replies, there's always a point, even if they certainly won't forgive. The young man enters the room, sees his mistress sleeping, covers her with a blanket, wishes her sweet dreams, and kisses her. The man asks permission to introduce himself, captain of the Imperial Palace Knights, Leo de Fête. The gentleman says his name is Rovia Zuran. 20 minutes ago, he recommended a manual that would become a reference book. Today, they determined her level of knowledge, and to deepen it, she needs to read the book before the next meeting. The lady understands and says that she will stop by the library on her way from the training ground. The man is surprised. She'll go to the parade ground without servants? The princess confirms. She thinks it would be good to find out about Eiklot from the other knights. Rovia asks if he should accompany the lady. The lady doesn't understand what he means and asks if he would be considerate if he allowed it. The man confirms, and Her Highness agrees. The lady thinks it was she who got emotional and gave in to him. She says she knows everything from the official report, but wanted to personally oversee the exam Edson Velada is taking. The princess clarifies. She has no intention of favoring him. The captain suggests, perhaps there's a misunderstanding. After all, His Highness has a separate knightly detachment under his direct command. He could be assigned to it. Rovia screams. How dare he say such a thing? Lo replies. Check the vacancy first, then make a decision. The lady doesn't understand the reaction, thinking, the princess laid her hand on the order, and this man can't stand her. Conversation is useless. It's time to go. The captain reports that the advance party will arrive soon. He is busy and asks for forgiveness. Rhea understands. Her night squad is near the 6th training ground. Rovia angrily says he should go back and teach him some manners. He clearly harbors a grudge. He's Sir Facey's closest disciple. The mistress thinks he's the boyfriend of the second concubine, the one she sent to war. His disgust is understandable. She adds, there's no one to teach Rovia manners. Silence is a sign of consent. The lady is surprised. Is it really possible to sunbathe on a parade ground? She sees half-naked knights. The man cries out, Her Highness has arrived. Quickly gather your forces and line up. The main character looks at naked bodies and does not understand what kind of parade of male nudity this is. The knight asks if the princess wants to go hunting. He prepares a helmet and a sturdy saddle to prevent a repeat of the past. The girl wonders what happened last time. She thinks she probably fell off her horse. Rovia is surprised. The mistress doesn't remember. During her experiment, her partner fell off his horse, and hunting is especially exciting for her. The main character is confused. Is this really not a knightly squad, but a personal harem? She doesn't want to hunt today. The princess announces that she's planning to liquidate their squad. The boys are surprised and ask, have you decided to get rid of us? Suddenly, Rhea sees a guy with black stripes and wonders, who is he? The young lady thinks, even among handsome men he stands out especially. The boy turns to the princess. Explain what we are guilty of. Don't destroy us. The princess asks, did I say I would finish you off? She suggests, tell me what the meaning of your life is. The young man says he wants to run away. The lady asks, is this your knightly company? The main character promises a dignified exit. If they pass the test for knighthood, they will remain in the order. If not, they can leave the palace. The lady says, you can do it right now. The boy is surprised. How can he pass the exam if even active knights have difficulty coping? Rhea asks, on what basis do they receive their salaries then? Are they satisfied with this arrangement? The girl thinks, it's dawned on them that I'm serious about breaking up this gathering. She understands. They've lost their former carefree life. She suggests they consider whether this is worth it. The lady says, it's possible that today we'll be convinced to leave everything as is. But what will happen tomorrow? Everything could change. The young man says, we have nowhere to go. We are simple people without an inheritance. Where can we go? The guy points to the man. Only he has nothing to worry about. The rest are different. The princess doesn't understand who it is. The boy explains. His teacher is the captain of the Imperial Knightly Order and was previously the captain's deputy. The lady approaches and asks him what he's doing here. The young man is surprised. What's she talking about? The lady states his name, Leo DeFay. The stranger confirms. This is his teacher. The lady thinks, I took away both the teacher and the student. The DeFay has every reason to hate me. Rhea decides he will get everything he needs. To start a new life, he will need money. The lady promises, I will provide for him so he will never regret it. I can even pay for his military training. The young man falls to his knees. I cannot leave. My best years have been given to her, and there is no way to repay her. He asks to be accepted as a concubine. The guy asks, why are you doing this to me? You liked me after all? The lady confirms, "That's true." A gentleman approaches the princess and asks her to stay behind him. The man with black hair apologizes. The sudden news of his dismissal has clouded his mind. He hits the guy to get him back into his job. The captain's mate asks, "Is the princess taking action?" He will help persuade them. The princess says yes, but asks her to stop hitting him, as it will put him into eternal sleep. The boy assures her that won't happen, as he knows where to hit. The mistress thinks, what else can you expect? They're used to being beloved toys. But who is this man and why doesn't he care? Rhea asks, is he happy with everything? He replies, who knows? Does it look like he's happy with everything? Rovia says, I heard of a man named Sigurd. He's a commoner, but he was the youngest second in command. It's time to go back. The maid turns to Edson and tells him to do as she wants. It's necessary. He asks, won't it hurt? Why is he doing this? Uriel cries out, I told you. I can't tell you yet. He promised to wait. Have feelings changed? The man assures me. The feelings are the same. We will meet like before. He will be there. The girl offers, prove that you love her. The gentleman agrees, but let her not cry. The boy recalls being told that if he so desired, he could pass the knighthood exam, return the sword, and be able to bear arms. This man claimed he hoped he would make the right choice. Unforgettable feelings transition from anticipation to awakening. The beginning of awakening is 0%. Access is impossible. The state is in action. The princess hears Uriel being grabbed by the maids. She screams, what are they doing? Why can't I be here? I'm a palace maid. The maid asks, can't you even pass by? Drazy remarks, you're here for a reason. Are you planning to sneak into the princess's chambers? Don't make trouble. Another maid offers to take her away quickly. The mistress asks, what's the matter? Uriel approaches the princess. I have a proposition related to Edson Vlad. He promises, after listening to me, you won't regret it. The princess says, you two are free to go. Uriel should follow her. The maid reports, Your Highness has spared her. Please allow me to repay her. The mistress thinks, I see right through her. She asks, do you still expect to become my maid? The maid agrees. She says, I also spoke with Mr. Vlad. He is ready to serve every night. She asks, will you like it? Rhea is surprised. How did she convince him? What did she expect by coming here? She cries out, how can she treat him like this? Uriel looks at her in surprise. What are you talking about? The princess says, he loves you. Isn't that enough? How can you be so greedy? The young lady understands. For a purpose, she forced her master to visit another woman, an enemy, and suggested it to his face. She knows she burst into tears again to convince him. Uriel asks, does Her Highness have anything she owns but doesn't use? She wonders if it irritates her that she controls Edson's feelings and wants him to give her his heart. Rhea advises keeping quiet if you value your life. Then she adds, it will never happen in your line of work, accept it. System alert. An unknown error has been detected. The new ending is to be happy with what you have. The princess's transformation unlocks a hidden ending. This choice will allow you to escape the shadow of eternal sleep and the whirlwind of fate, but will forever bar the path to fame and fortune. Ruta Rovia, Zuran, and Iklat Physis remain in the process. The protagonist asks Uriel to decide if this option suits her. She wonders if they'll return to their world or stay here forever. Perhaps eternal peace awaits them. System alert. There's no turning back. You must choose wisely. Be happy with what you have, or not choose, because that's the only path to a happy ending without killing. Uriel chooses no choice and asks, what's there to lose? A notification informs her that the hidden ending has been activated and, quote, being happy with what you have has been destroyed. The girl explains, she offered this to be helpful. Every sleepless night she thought she was here against her will, playing out of desperation. The protagonist reflects, she thought they were alike. By revealing the truth, they could have helped each other, but she made her choice without hesitation. Uriel thanks the princess for listening to her. She feels bad that she couldn't repay her gratitude, says nothing, and takes her leave. The princess tells me to tell Edson, don't worry, this won't happen. Rhea, tired, lies down on the bed and thinks, our paths are different. I wonder if there's another way out. Drazy sees Uriel and wonders, what is she doing here? She's not allowed here. The maid reports, the ban has been lifted. Drazy is shocked. How is this possible after yesterday's uproar? The dark-haired maid says, How can you lie? The mistress is generous. She was right. Uriel informs you. As of today, she has become her personal maid. Now, complete the first task. Drazy is surprised. What do you need? The maid explains. This assignment concerns her. Your Highness can't simply enjoy her company. The maid is confused. Why didn't the princess tell her personally? Uriel. The task is secret and simple. Pass this note to a person at court as discreetly as possible. The princess grabs the note. I don't remember giving you any instructions. I want to see what's in it. The lady reads, Sir Teleras sends a gift to dispel fatigue after a long journey. Rhea understands. The girl is young and inexperienced and clearly to his taste. Uriel asks to wait, explain everything, and listen to her. The main character grabs Uriel's clothes. Well written. If something had happened, they would have believed it was her. Is that what you were hoping for? The young lady thinks that the system prompts helped her. Last night, the servant was convinced by the storyteller's talent. Rhea notes. Today, the servant acted immediately. She wonders what he's discovering. System alert. It's a dirty rumor. They say the southern Marquis, Teleras, is stealing maids to suit his tastes. That's what she wanted to know. Rhea asks, why? What's the benefit of destroying a trusting girl? The answer awaits. System. Drazy's weakness is minor. It's a failure. She only angered the princess. Don't mention it again. The main character recalls. She first saw a weak spot exposed at a picnic with Drazy. She thinks, someone blabbed about us, and the girl almost got into trouble. The princess asks, is it she, the undead? I don't understand how anyone could do such a thing. It's vile. Uriel explains. She worked hard for her, wanted to earn her forgiveness and favor. She knew the aristocrat in the south wielded power. Protagonist. If it's for me, I'll give you a chance to earn forgiveness. I'll go in Drazy's place. A woman enters the room. She asks Uriel how she could leave the place and realizes what she is doing. The princess looks. Who is this, madam? I'd like to know. The chief maid of the palace bows her head. I have shown disrespect. I ask for forgiveness. The maid tells Uriel that no matter whose orders she was carrying out, she should have warned that she was going to the Highness's palace. The maid asks, is the princess angry? Rhea is surprised. What's going on here? System alerts. Emperor's interest. You stole 2 men from the princess, escaping her wrath. The emperor is interested and wants to meet you while the palace is safe. The emperor is fickle and can become tiresome. You'll need to have 6 random encounters to maintain his interest. A special route will unlock. Elport, Enzo, Cecilia. The young lady understands that the emperor of the country is interested in her. The protagonist recalls asking the maid why she was there. The lady realizes this is the first time a special route has surfaced. She wonders what will happen if the emperor teams up with Uriel. The princess suspects he might want to finish off his sister. She needs to act, not wait for the end. The headmaid apologizes for disturbing her. Princess. No apologies needed. If she came for Uriel, she won't leave without punishment. The maid asks to calm down. She carried out the emperor's orders and is ready to accept punishment in Uriel's place. Rhea understands. This is nonsense. The maid was trying to expose a weak spot. The emperor is not involved, but he is interested in Uriel. The headmaid uses the emperor's name to shield her. The princess asks, is this an order? Was the note embarrassing? The lady thinks. She understood what Uriel was trying to do, but she still sticks to her line. The maid admits it's difficult to understand the emperor. Indifferent to the aristocracy, perhaps he was trying to improve relations. She reports that the emperor wishes to meet with Uriel now. The maid thinks that the emperor will decide what to do since she came to the palace, despite the ban. The princess cries out, whoever ordered this is her palace. She decides for herself what to do with the people here. Then she adds, I'm going to the emperor. While I'm gone, no one will move. Her Majesty commands the guards. Take the maid under guard until my return, and don't take your eyes off her. The emperor turns to Rhea. What a pleasant surprise. She looks at him and realizes everything has already been relayed to him. She asks, did he want to see Uriel? Enzo thinks for a moment, then says, that's a shame. He asks, were you upset by my secret mission? The girl thinks, it's a lie. It's clear who was in charge of the maid. He's uncomfortable admitting the truth. He's afraid of a fight. The princess reports, Uriel won't be coming. He asks, does she dispute my order? She replies, That girl won't be here. The ban has been violated. Her Majesty says this is treason, and she is only following the laws of the Empire. The main character also suggests not to worry, promises not to touch him, but asks him to revoke the order. The lady asks, "Will he claim the order is for me? I wonder if he needs a maid that badly." The Emperor agrees. The princess bows and asks if he is charmed by her. The protagonist realizes that Uriel and the Emperor were supposed to have 6 random encounters in the game. Now, none of them will happen. The system reports, "She is in a state of confinement. The Emperor's summons has been automatically cancelled. He has already changed." In the evening, the mistress tells the maid to report. Hess reports, "She received 7 lashes. The princess thinks it will hurt to walk and sit." She asks about Drazi. She replies, "She rested until tomorrow, now in her room." Her Majesty remembered that she had told Nadrik to take care of himself. Rhea decided to visit the guy. He was surprised. "What are you doing in my wretched home?" The lady says that since he doesn't come to her, she came herself, and adds with a smile that she missed his soft scent. The girl pushed him onto the bed and told him she wanted an explanation for why he'd been avoiding her. He looked embarrassed, as if he'd distanced himself, even though he'd always wanted to be close. Eldria suggests speaking frankly. The boy insists he wouldn't dare avoid His Highness. She reminds him that he hasn't visited her for several days. The young lady thinks that it was because of Uriel that she wanted to suggest a break, but feelings could have changed. She is not a princess after all. Nadrika insists that a slave shouldn't desire anything. The princess asks why he's talking about slavery again. He replies that he's only happy to please her. The guy thinks that this is enough, because showing his desire would be impudent. The princess realizes she could have brought him to tears. He asks if she's angry. She replies she's not. Eldria says she'll come herself from now on. He wants to hug her, and she does too. They hug and kiss. The man notices that she's late for class today. The girl replies that he didn't even look at her once. Rovia heard that she didn't sleep in the room and asks if that's why she was late. The princess asks if that's why he drinks until noon. He replies that his entertainment is none of her concern, and he knows how to drink. The lady reminds him that he recently broke into her bedroom and asks how much he drank. He remains silent and she smiles, saying that he wasn't a bore back then. The maid opens the door and, sobbing, asks why His Highness is sending her to another palace. She cries. The princess knows that it is strange to hear objections, since everyone dreams of being transferred. Drazi falls to her knees and says through tears that she wants to stay with His Highness. The princess realizes that yesterday had left her deeply shocked. For her own good, she would have transferred her. Uriel is too unpredictable. The main character says that friends should be kept close, and enemies even closer, and allows her to stay, adding that she does not feel hatred. The system reports that the confinement state has been lifted, but the infirmity remains. Edson walks her to her room, and the system asks if she'll go with him. Options: A. Refuse. B. Go together. C. Ask for a walk. Rhea ponders what she should do upon leaving the dungeon. The system asks where she'll go. Options: the garden, the Emperor's bedroom, Uriel's room. She chooses the garden. In the garden, looking back, she sees the maid and thinks that they didn't give her any painkillers, but she'll have to endure it. It's too light a punishment for what she was going to do to Drazi. The princess thinks about the system. The Emperor is fickle, easily loses interest, and 6 random meetings must be held before he cools down. The guard reports that the Emperor has headed to the garden. The girl thinks she's forced to go out at night to scout things out. Eldria understands that if she needs to prevent a collision between Uriel and the Emperor, she will cause the system to collapse. Uriel wonders if this is a hidden event, a meeting with the princess. He also asks if she's come to finish her off. The main character is surprised and replies that she has no intention of getting her hands dirty. The maid thinks she was spared so as not to quarrel with Prince Vlad. Rhea asks if she truly thinks this, and that's why she does whatever she wants. The maid asks what's holding the princess back, and says that Her Highness is afraid she'll discover a secret. The princess approaches and asks if she's afraid of her. She gives her a chance and tells her she deserves to die, and would eliminate her in a heartbeat. She advises her to think twice before repeating her vile behavior. Uriel thanks him for the advice. The princess says she'll see how she understood him and tells him to disappear. The young lady thinks she's hoping the maid won't meet the Emperor. The system congratulates her. The chance encounter has been accomplished. The protagonist reads that Uriel encountered the Emperor. He is confused. Options: not recognizing her, inviting her into the room, or pretending to faint. She chose to faint. The system reports success. Interest is heightened. Ria thinks that no one will pass by a girl in a faint and that the speed of events is insane. It's as if the emperor is ready to fall in love. The princess understands. Her attempts to prevent the meeting were futile. Interest has been achieved and the route is open. The young woman believes it's too early to give up. There are 5 encounters left until the route is fully unlocked. She believes the battle isn't with Uriel, but with system notifications. Waking up in the morning, she realizes she hasn't slept again. She notices a bird, approaches it, and asks where it came from. The bird has a bandage on its leg. It takes the note and says the name Aiden Frank. The maid is surprised that she said Aiden Frank and says that she came to clean up. Ria asks if the maid knows the place. Drayden confirms she does. It's a large guest house where she spent the night while on assignment. The main character thinks that they sent a messenger bird straight to her chambers, secretly inviting her to the guest house, and since the system is calling, she must go. The princess notes that nothing has been heard from Uriel and the emperor since that night. Due to her intense interest, Uriel is cautious, so she has plenty of time for meetings. Occasionally notices about Edson appear. He's regained his freedom and his sword, and in her opinion, it's best not to get involved again. Eldria thinks it's good that the meeting is scheduled for tomorrow. Today she can breathe a sigh of relief. Drazy reports that there are strange rumors going around. Ria thinks that the princess with ill fame has become more reserved, and it is difficult to imagine what the servants could have come up with. The maid says there's talk of her having an eye for women. Ria spits into her tea and asks if she's sure. The maid confirms. The maids are whispering that she is communicating too closely. Drazy says the servants fall silent as soon as she approaches. He asks if she can imagine such a thing, seeing how much the princess does for the empire. The protagonist thinks the poor girl doesn't even understand the rumors. The maid claims she can't repeat them. The princess asks what happened and suggests calling the other maids. Drazy asks not to invite anyone, and herself reports that they say that the Highness is buying young slaves who will plunge into eternal sleep until the end of the year. The princess replies that she doesn't understand what they're talking about. The maid agrees that it's nonsense. The system announces, "The last Prince of Velod congratulates you on the quest where a weak spot was exposed and a scandalous rumor was successfully launched." Ria understands that this is Uriel's evil work. She's not surprised, but she's worried that the rumor might be true. The young lady notes that the deadline is too specific for simple gossip, before the end of the year, already soon. The system reports that all clues have been collected, and the result is being verified. The stolen item is in the princess's bedroom. The main character tells the maid that she's had enough for today and wants to rest. She thinks there's some shady dealings going on again and wonders what she stole and from whom. The girl reflects on how she couldn't have taken something from the servants and kept it for herself. Perhaps this was the very secret Uriel was never meant to reveal. Ria believes that if the rumor about the princess is true, then the princess herself is the only one who doesn't know about it. Uriel, through gossip, forced everyone to remember the truth. The system reports 3 scandalous rumors, and the girl realizes the last one is the key. She's curious about the game's plot and what Uriel wants. The lady speculates that Uriel's goal is to destroy the princess. This requires power and the support of key figures, and the reactionaries are dissatisfied with the authorities. If Uriel lures them away, the princess will lose everything, even her life. Even the sole heir can be overthrown if the majority of the aristocrats are against her. The main character understands why rumors are needed, the search for a weak spot, and why Uriel seduced the princess's men that would create witnesses. The system presents an unexpected quest. Eichlot Physis enters the capital on a victorious march and sends a letter requesting personal information about Princess Eldria. Options: skip or don't skip. Ria realizes that Eichlot Physis is returning and has been gathering information about the princess. She wonders if she can let him through and avoid the threat. The maid asks Her Highness if she called her. The princess invites her to come and asks Drazy why she's wearing her outerwear, if she's going for a walk. The lady replies that she is going to the palace and instructs Drazy to ensure that no one enters her chambers. The girl comes to the house and thinks that this is the inn of Aiden Frank, the place from the message. The woman meets her, greets her, and apologizes for her disrespect, saying that she followed her. The princess thinks that if she hadn't come herself, it's unknown how they would have connected. She needs to see with her own eyes who they are and what their relationship with the princess is to understand what to do next. The green-haired lady informs the owner that she has brought her He exclaims that it is an honor, that he hasn't seen her in a long time, and has been waiting for her. Rhea wonders if it's dangerous to meet during the day. The man replies that it's safer in a crowd, but the guards are too fierce at night. The princess says he's not just chatting, and suggests getting down to business. The man smiles and suggests she's out of medicine, and is in a lot of pain. The main character is surprised. He continues that insisting is pointless, he can't change anything, and asks her not to worry. The guys will deliver everything to the palace. The man asks if she knows that everything must be according to the rules of the policy and the company. Messages showing up at the appointed time. Rhea believes the princess wields immense power and, if she needed the cure, could retrieve it herself. The supply is secret, and its disclosure would be dangerous. The girl believes she was summoned to collect a receipt for payment. Judging by her words, the princess was dependent on medication. A weak point. Eldria believes she managed without medication when she entered this body. She's lucky the addiction didn't spread. She wonders if this is a systemic error. The man invites her to look at the recently arrived children and orders her to bring them. Young men with chains on their legs enter the room. He asks who she likes and if there's anyone else. The princess realizes the rumor is true and asks the slaves' origins. He replies that they are from Velad. After hearing about Belota, the princess bought them all. She wanted to refuse, but she couldn't leave the children to die, and realized she must now decide what to do with them. The man asks the woman to move away, saying she's in the way. The woman doesn't understand the commotion and wonders why there's so much of a crowd here in the morning. Suddenly, she hears that the Imperial Knights have returned. Rhea realizes they're here, even though she expected them tomorrow. The crowd shouts in greeting to the hero who brought victory, Iklot faces, and greets him joyfully. The princess understands that she must urgently return to the palace and get there before this man. The maid sternly tells her master that he cannot enter the princess's chambers. He asks in surprise if she really didn't want to see him. Iklot turns to the head maid and asks if his mistress has asked him to deliver anything. The assistant immediately asks the master if he can proceed to the emperor, who is waiting for him. Iklot objects, declaring that he intends to see Her Highness first. The aide realizes there's no way to convince him otherwise. The gentleman insists he must personally ensure the princess is all right. Hess cries out that Her Highness did not give permission. Iklot orders the princess to be informed of his arrival and asks how it was possible to entrust the care of her to such people. The master orders the crowd to step aside and enters the mistress's room, asking if everything is all right. He then turns to the maid and demands that she open the door. The maid, frightened, protests that she cannot do this without the princess's permission. The master sternly orders her to open the door, not intending to repeat it. The maid, terrified, doesn't know where Her Highness is. When the door opened, the maid saw the princess in bed. The mistress realized she had only managed to do so thanks to Drazy's quick change of clothes. Iklot kneels down and greets the princess, informing her that her order has been carried out. The princess realizes that the body's previous owner wanted to get rid of him by sending him off to war, but he survived and returned a hero. The lady extends her hand, and Iklot kisses it. For the first time, the princess senses something unusual and realizes that before her stands the very same Iklot faces. The girl wonders how he can kiss the hand that sent him to his possible death. He calmly replies that he has returned to her. The princess notices his determined and commanding look and says that it is good that he has returned. That evening, Nadrik looks at his mistress and asks if she's upset. She replies that she's just lost in thought. The young man mentions rumors of Iklot's return and asks if he has harmed her. She replies in the negative. The girl realized it was Iklot who frightened her most. His reputation was controversial, and she didn't know what to expect. But after meeting him, she feels no hatred or contempt. The question arises, can he be trusted? Iklot reports that there is a traitor in the palace who must be exposed. The princess doesn't understand who he means. Iklot asks permission to take on this matter. She asks what he plans to do. Iklot replies that he intends to expose the traitor, but he needs her permission. The princess wonders whether she can trust him or whether this is another of Uriel's intrigues. She decides to let him act on his own. Iklot immediately begins his search. The princess understands that an alliance with Iklot can change the whole situation. Eldria asks Nadrik about Aiden Frank. He's surprised. The princess asks if he knows where she went for medicine. Nadrik confirms he knows about the trips to get the medication, but not the exact location. She asks if he took it with her. He replies that she didn't give it to him. The princess is delighted, at least for one piece of good news. The young man mentions that their lips haven't touched today. She kisses him. Rhea considers it a blessing that he's nearby. With him, her worries disappear, but she wants to know what Iclot is up to. The next day, Iclot reports that he has evidence that Uriel was spreading personal information about the princess. The princess assumes it's about Uriel's letters. Iclot explains that the knights checked the servants, records, and found evidence of her guilt. He claims that Uriel tried to use the concubine to cause harm and revealed secrets. Uriel exclaims that he himself asked her to do this. Iclot declares that if the princess orders it, he will execute her immediately. The princess is surprised by his intention to kill Uriel. She had many opportunities before, but she avoided bloodshed. She understands that falling into Uriel's eternal sleep will end the game, after which she will remain to live in this world forever. The princess is surprised by the lack of system warnings for Uriel. Perhaps this is part of the game's script. Iclot asks what troubles her and who she fears, promising to punish those who bring chaos, taking responsibility for it himself. The girl is amazed, realizing that he is ready to do anything for her. She feels calm. The man assures her that he will protect her and asks her to trust him because he is ready to give his life for his mistress. Eldria informs Uriel that she has been banished from the palace. The maid begs for permission to explain. The princess orders that her description be compiled and passed on to the guards so that Uriel is not allowed into the palace under any pretext. Uriel exclaims at Iclot, accusing him of injustice. The princess believes that Uriel deserved her punishment, but she feels that this is not the end of the story. The system reports quest failure, Uriel's exile, a bad reputation, and Iclot Physis' route being closed. Rhea realizes the decisive moment has arrived. Iclot asks permission to ask a question. A knight enters the room and apologizes for the intrusion, unaware that Iclot was with the princess. The princess asks what message she needs to convey. The knight informs her that they are requesting Iclot, as the aristocrats wish to greet him. The girl understands. The emperor has already been informed of the encounter with Uriel. It's time to go to him. She orders him to go to his majesty and says that he will return immediately after completing his business. 2 days later, the maids discuss Uriel's expulsion, and one of them is surprised that the princess seems to have returned to her old habits. The maid warns the others that people are fickle and tells them to do only what they are told. Eldria is outraged by the food brought, considering it disgusting. The maid defends herself, claiming that these are her mistress's favorite dishes. The lady angrily orders him to leave immediately. Left alone, the princess wonders if she managed to convincingly feign withdrawal. Rhea realized that she had no other choice. She had to find out where the drugs were hidden. Finding the person responsible was impossible, so she had to stage a show. Suddenly, someone entered, and she thought it might be the one she was waiting for. Hess suggests taking the medication. The lady wonders where she can keep it. The maid reports that the norm is exceeded, but the main character interrupts her and claims that everything needs to be hidden outside the palace. The maid promises to carry out the order as soon as possible. Rhea asks how Drazy is doing and whether she managed to stop the surveillance in dangerous conditions. The princess doubts whether Hess can fully trust her. All she can do is wait. After Uriel's exile, Rhea gains time to search for the stolen item. Her attempt to prevent a meeting with the emperor has failed. The system is clearly speeding things up. Eldria understands that the problem needs to be solved as soon as possible. Seeing Nadric, she asks what he wanted. The young man immediately hugs her. She wonders what happened. The young man is glad that the princess is not under the influence of drugs, fearing a repeat of last night. She recalls that last night, when she asked him about the princess's previous affairs, he looked worried. The lady thinks that while Uriel is away, she can relax a little, and asks if Nadric will stay the night in her room. At night, the girl hears strange sounds and notices that Nadric has turned away. The girl wonders if this is really what she thinks, and asks what is going on. The young man asks her in fear if she is asleep, and promises to tell her what happened. He admits that she hugged him in his sleep and that he finds it hard to restrain himself around her. She suggests they wait and asks why he's holding back. He explains that since his memory loss, he's been unable to have full intimacy. Nadric adds that she's become more reserved, and he's been hesitant to push her further. Lady asks if she's lost interest in him. Rhea realizes that she had to restrain her desires out of fear of the past. The girl confesses that she loves him and desires him. She asks him to no longer call her Highness, but only Ria. They remain together. The next morning, the young man advises her not to skip breakfast and kisses her. The princess asks if he has forgotten his promise. He calls her Ria. She reminds him that he should address her by her name in private. She calls him naughty. Nedrick explains that he's not used to it yet. She threatens punishment if he forgets again. He asks excitedly if she's laughing. The lady understands that this is still better than a formal address. Even the pronunciation of her name pleases him. The maid informs him that Sir Iklot Faces wishes to meet. The princess allows him to enter. Nedrick asks if he should go out. She tells him to stay and greets Iklot. Iklot asks if she slept well and if the visit was disturbing. The lady replies that everything is fine. She hasn't slept well in a long time. She says that if he could interfere, she wouldn't let him in. She notices the joy in his eyes. Iklot claims to have heard a cough. The lady counters that everyone is healthy and no one was coughing. Ria realizes the strangeness of the situation. Lying in bed with one lover and accepting another is incredible, but mesmerizing. The princess sees that Iklot does not show a shadow of surprise, as if he is used to it, and asks what he wanted to talk about. Iklot says he has a request for Her Highness. 7 years ago, Iklot, the son of the late Marquis, became famous for his border defense, diplomacy, and military talent. For the first time, the Marquis became a captain of the Imperial Knightly Order, the support of the ruling family. From parliament to the lowest aristocrats, no one could ignore his influence. His name was known to all. The emperor was dissatisfied, considering it unacceptable to turn a blind eye to the strengthening of his power. But nobility, reputation, and command position made Iklot the leader of a new political force. At the princess's 18th birthday banquet, she pointed to Sir Faces, and everything changed. The Marquis declared that he served her and knelt down. Political circles were shocked. Many believed that he was blinded by the thirst for power, but he chose the princess. The aristocrats who revered him turned away, but Iklot remained her protector. 6 months later, the emperor declared war, and Iklot became captain of the vanguard. He left without his mages, only with his soldiers, and the princess didn't see him off. People predicted that he would fall into eternal sleep. But Iklot returned alive to the princess. The princess thinks that's too much for breakfast. Drazi promises not to interfere. Iklot asks why she doesn't drink tea. The princess asks why he doesn't drink it himself, since tea helps with fatigue. The girl guesses that he wants to ask her a question, but doesn't know how to start. The protagonist realizes that he helped her with the expulsion of Uriel, but still does not understand what drives him and asks if he was injured. The gentleman replies that he has sometimes found himself in dangerous situations, but considers them beneath her notice. The lady asks for details and asks for more information. Iklot reports that he received several cuts on his neck during an attack one night, but survived. Hearing this, the girl considers his words too light for such danger and asks if he thought about her during the war, since it is important for her to understand his feelings. Ria reflects that even if he hates her, it would still be easier for her to know the truth. She's not sure she has the right to hope he won't hold a grudge. The man says that during the war, he pondered her orders and tried to understand whether she wanted him to win or to give her life for hers. He's certain the orders meant to fight, not to fall into eternal sleep. Iklot says he's returned for an answer. The protagonist understands what exactly was tormenting him and wonders why she didn't figure it out sooner, considering she sent him into eternal sleep. There could only be one answer for the cruel Eldria, and for someone who would carry out any order without hesitation. This outcome was natural. The lady asks how he would feel if she admitted that she truly desired his eternal sleep. She wonders if this would make him angry or resentful, and if he would hate her. The man says he doesn't feel any hatred. She's surprised by this answer and asks why he became her concubine in the first place. The girl reflects that he could have refused at any moment, and the aristocrats would have supported him. However, he immediately bowed to the princess. Iklot claims that serving the imperial family has always been his primary duty. The man greets Her Highness. She asks which room is empty, and he replies that the 5th reading room is empty. A lady is planning to read in silence and asks not to be disturbed. A man offers to walk her home, but she declines. The worker realizes he's made a mistake. Someone is in the 5th reading room. He's afraid of being held accountable for his mistake. Rovia, in the library, decides the books he's found are enough for class. Hearing footsteps, he wonders who might be nearby. as the hall should be empty. The protagonist is confident no one is following her. She understands this is the best place to calm down, but she's unsure where to sit. The man notices Her Highness and does not dare to say hello. The girl thinks that he is behaving unbearably and does not understand whether he is pretending or is really like that. The young lady had not slept last night and was feeling tired, and this strange conversation only increased the tension. Iklot reports that the servants dared to touch her concubine and asks for permission to punish them. The lady forbids him to interfere and reminds him that only 2 days have passed since his return, and he is already striving to control the entire palace. The man tries to object, but the lady says that she will sort it out herself and suggests that he not interfere. Iklot believes that the attack on Her Highness's people is an insult to the crown and requires exemplary punishment. He adds that such situations need to be closely monitored to ensure they do not recur, as this is important for power and stability. Rhea understands that his concern is not directed at Nodric, but at preserving the authority of the imperial family, for which murder seems an acceptable measure to him. The lady claims such methods are wrong. The man says correctness doesn't matter if it's what she needs. Iklot states that the order is this: dissenters are punished by death, and the loyal are rewarded. The man reminds her that Uriel betrayed her sister. The princess says she banished her and asks if that's enough. The Marquis wonders what will happen if Uriel discovers her weakness and offers to quietly eliminate the problem if she only orders it. The main character asks him if it seems unfair that she did not execute Uriel, but put the crown's faithful servant into eternal sleep. The lady explains that Uriel has done nothing but banish her and asks if it looks suspicious. Iklot responds that he doesn't find it suspicious, but admits that his emotions are clouding his judgment. He adds that he can't be a perfect protector if she's hiding something, and apologizes for his abruptness. The girl understands that he is acting under the influence of emotions, and reflects that Uriel remains the only link with the past, and his rage is too strange. Eldria asks if he's willing to carry out any of her orders. He confirms he is, even if it concerns her decision to send him into eternal slumber. The man claims he's just doing his duty. The lady notes that he says this as if it's perfectly normal, and asks if he finds the prospect of dying because of her whim amusing. Iklot explains that a vassal of the imperial family is obligated to show absolute loyalty. He has confidence in her decisions and is honest with her. The girl wonders if he understands the meaning of his words, because she wanted to apologize for the unfair order of the former princess. Rhea believes he has nothing to forgive her for. She says she doesn't want to hear any more about punishment and suggests he leave. He respects her wishes and leaves. The princess realizes she is not the one he once risked his life for. She is troubled by the thought that one day he might turn his sword against her. The girl realizes she can't escape the role of antagonist now. She can only defend her position. The young lady opens the book, confident that Rovia's lesson helped her identify the right source of information. Rovia approaches the princess and is surprised by how long she's been reading. He notes that she came to study on her own, which reminds him of something from the past. The man recalls that recently, as an official, he was able to achieve a high position. The gentleman reminds Rovia that these books are only available to the imperial family. He believes that with the right background, he could have achieved more and advises Rovia to work hard. For centuries, power was concentrated in the hands of high-born aristocrats and their descendants. Provincial aristocrats like him couldn't achieve high rank. He sees no point in talents if they can't be applied, and feels stuck without the opportunity to flourish. He did the work day after day, until one day the princess approached him and expressed her joy at meeting him. A whispering voice called his name, but when he opened his eyes, no one was there. Thus began their first meeting. Rovia says he decided to wake her up so that no one would see her sleeping in the library. The main character hopes she didn't say anything strange in her sleep. The guy realizes he wanted to kiss her while she was sleeping, but wonders what came over him. The gentleman asks if she comes to the library often. She replies negatively and reflects that she should be more careful even here. Rovia asks if she remembers their first meeting here. The girl doesn't know what to answer, as the memories of the former princess are inaccessible to her. The princess admits she's forgotten something. He asks about their meeting at the lake and reminds her that she spoke of his beauty. Rhea remembers the lake, but realizes she can't say she remembers everything, and decides to change the subject. The main character says she's hungry and asks if he'll join her for lunch. Rovia is surprised, thinking it would be just the two of them. She explains that she's already invited Nodric and doesn't want him to misunderstand, but the tension between the men is palpable. The princess advises Rovia to be more polite with others so as not to get irritated without reason, and suggests that he work on this. Rhea asks Nodric if he agrees. He confirms. The Marquis considers this sufficient and suggests they begin their meal. The girl recalls that her first impression of Rovia was unpleasant, but after getting to know him better, she realized that he was better than he seemed. The lady notes that the atmosphere is becoming tense and suggests that Nodric might have become frightened. She wonders if there was a quarrel between them. Rovia is surprised by the question and thinks he shouldn't bother. The princess explains that it's just a typical rivalry between favorites. The gentleman asks since when he is considered equal to Nodric and is surprised by the very fact of the comparison. Rhea understands that Nodric is jealous and finds it charming. The princess asks Hess about the servants who touch Nodric. Hess replies that they are quiet, but rumor has it they were spared only to watch them suffer. The main character says that she understands and tells Hess that she is free today, since Drazy's help is enough to change clothes. The girl reflects that she didn't need the servants, but let them think that she was mocking them so that something like this doesn't happen again. Drazy reports that Hess hid the medicine outside the palace, which was previously in the kitchen. She assures them everything is under control. Rhea looks at the maid and thinks that she is like a puppy waiting for praise and says that the job is well done. In the evening, lying in bed, the princess thinks that she has sorted out the substances, but still does not understand where to look for the necessary thing, because there are too many bedrooms in the palace. The lady believes that after receiving the clue, she checked the rooms every day, trying not to be seen, but found nothing. Nodric can't tell her what he knows. Rhea doesn't know how to proceed and doubts whether she has enough strength, since Uriel's expulsion did not end the problem. The loud game alerts have almost disappeared, the threat has weakened. But she is still stuck in someone else's role and doesn't know who will support her. One man asks the commander what he just said, as he was suddenly called away at night for training. The guy is surprised that the captain demands that he entertain a crazy woman, because he was previously homeless and barely survived among the robbers. Seeger reminds him that despite the discrimination, he joined the Order of Knights and became a deputy, and asks if the boy understands the meaning of the proposal. The young man believes that the captain has gone mad because he sought the position, and now, in his opinion, he is being turned into a low servant of the princess. The captain asks you to calm down and listen to him. You need to be patient and carry out the order so as not to attract attention. The captain advises feigning submission, as the princess will execute those who resist without trial. He says the young man must survive by acting as if he agrees. The gentleman insists all he needs is patience and promises to get him out of this situation. The guy thinks the country has gone crazy. The captain apologizes, kneeling down and saying he is sorry. The next day, Seeger packs his things and tells the captain that he deceived him and asks if the captain is happy with him leaving. The servants consider the young man lucky because he left the princess's hellish brothel. The guy was stunned, because even he was surprised that the lady disbanded the nightly squad so quickly. Seeger speculates that she probably mistook him for someone else and doesn't understand what happened, but considers the departure a stroke of luck. The young man thinks that she did the right thing because it is unknown what else she can do. Seeger comes to the captain and asks if he was expecting him. The captain is glad he's back and reminds him of his promise. The guy says he's back, ready to start over, and asks if he's been demoted, offering to send him to a quiet service. Seeger says the soldiers are heartless because he nearly died entertaining the unbalanced princess and no one showed sympathy. The boy understands that the knight who abandoned his comrades could not expect that the order would welcome him again because he had become an eyesore. Seeger is used to this kind of treatment, knowing that commoners have to put up with it. After he became the captain's favorite, everyone turned away, waiting for a moment to gloat. The captain says the princess may have calmed down now, but there's no guarantee. The young man asks where they plan to send him. The captain suggests a job with the palace guard. Hearing this, the guy is surprised, because these guards patrol the towers with high spires. A few days later, the servants ask their mistress if they can come in. She says they've been washed, fed, and are being prepared for palace service training. The princess explains that they need to get used to the palace and its way of life as quickly as possible. The lady says she's giving them the opportunity to live in the palace and work honestly. One of the young men wonders why they were abandoned. Rhea promises to make every effort to ensure that no trouble befalls them. Rovia enters the room and asks if the mistress is being childish by buying slaves out of pity. He reminds her that such actions are illegal. The princess asks if he criticized her. He replies that criticism is not prohibited, but asks him not to be impudent, understanding that she has her reasons. Less than 10 years have passed since the official ban on slavery, and it appears that the imperial family does not prosecute violators, so the practice has hardly disappeared. Rovia remarks that he believes this is the work of Easterners. The lady is surprised and says he's a jack of all trades. At this time, the maid in a panic reports a disaster. One of the maids, the very one who dared to touch her concubine, tried to fall into eternal sleep on the chandelier. Hess reassures, saying that they were monitoring the palace on the orders of the mistress and noticed what was happening in time, so now the servant is not in any danger. The princess believes she did well to increase surveillance. After speaking with Iklat, the precautions became stricter. She understands that without these decisions, the maid could have been found dead the very next day. Drazy asks if everything is okay, and the lady asks if she looks bad. Rhea reflects that in the eyes of the palace, she looks like a person who first tortures the servants and then gets rid of each one without regret. The lady understands that the rumors were known in advance, but she did not stop them, hoping that fear would deter the others. However, the rumors escalated into open persecution. Gradually, the servants were separated from the rest, and this became inevitable. Some of the persecutors were so cruel that they decided to exclude them from society forever. This continued until the young servant, who was guarding them on orders from her elders, tried to fall into eternal sleep. The princess orders Hess to capture everyone involved in this and the previous incident, except those working outside the palace. A short time later, a servant reports that some of the maids tried to escape during the night. The mistress is surprised by the chaos in the palace. Hess reports that all the culprits have been caught. The princess is certain that things cannot be left as they are. The girl comes to the conclusion that now she needs to act not out of a sense of rightness, but out of necessity. Iklat is stunned, unable to believe that His Highness has decided to punish them. He warns the servants that for their crime their right wrists will be severed, the pain will pass, but the lesson will remain. The princess adds that every time they look at their wrists, they will remember their misdeeds. After the treatment, they will be expelled from the palace. She also orders the families of the accomplices to be flogged and banished from the palace. Iklat reflects that he noticed the change in the princess's behavior from the very beginning, but believed that it was caused by his lack of protection. A little while later, Drazy claims that the lady might be in the garden now, as she had recently said that she wanted to be alone. The young master does not know how to speak to His Highness. He wants to talk, but he cannot find a reason. Iklat decides to simply look for her. Finding the mistress, he greets her. She smiles and admits he was right. He suggests they take things easy, and she agrees. The princess reminds him that what matters is not correctness, but necessity. Then she asks what he thinks about punishing servants. Iklat assures her she's right. The lady asks why. Then she explains that the punishment was deserved, and she rightly got rid of the undesirables. The lady sees no difference between what's happening and the previous order. She reasons that in one case, they themselves are to blame, while in the other, anyone can be blamed, even the emperor. Hearing her words, Iklat falls to his knees and begs her not to do this. The princess realizes she's always found blind submission to authority terrifying. Iklat is completely devoted to her, so she decides to speak with him openly. The princess asks him one question and wonders if he will answer. Rhea explains that if the chosen means to achieve a goal is wrong, it needs to be corrected or replaced. She asks what kind of means he will become for her, the wrong one or the new one. The girl understands that he may never change, and decides that she will become his master if the meaning of his life is to serve until the end. Iklat agrees and says that he will gladly become her new vehicle and follow her anywhere. Sigurd is assigned to guard duty. The princess asks if this means returning to his previous position. She reminds him that he was the first commoner to reach the high position of vice captain and asks where she went wrong. Rovia confirms her words, but doubts that the position will be returned, since there are still dissatisfied people left since his appointment. The lady thinks things are going wrong. She wonders why she's only just now learning about the gossip. Rovia explains that any unnecessary news might force her to leave the palace prematurely, so the servants are careful. The maid announces Iklat's arrival. The princess replies that she told him to come in. Iklat greets the lady, kisses her hand, and informs her that she will now lead territorial negotiations with Rothschild, and he will be her military consultant. The main character is surprised, realizing that the emperor probably did this on purpose to improve her relationship with Iklat. The princess decides that there is no point in involving him in the matter. Ravia is enough for this, and it is better to let Iklot rest. The Marquis jokes about someone having less pride than him, but Iklot clarifies that it is not about pride but about conscience. Ravia wonders what they are talking about, but the lady asks them to stop arguing and find a suitable time to talk. Iklot apologizes. Ria thinks he looks like both a cat and a dog, then asks if the night captain will be stopping by later. Eldria says she wanted to say something too, but the time wasn't right. The man promises to come in the evening. Ravia asks why they need to talk alone, asks if there is a secret, and if he trusts her after what happened. The man replies that if neither one nor the other is possible, then he does not understand the meaning of the secrets and asks to speak in his presence. The lady notices that something is wrong with them today, thinking that they are behaving like children whom she will have to calm down. Ria touches Iklot's hand and urges him to calm down. He asks her not to let the other man get too close and not to trust him, then asks if she understood his words. Iklot asks if Rovia understands where he is and who he is talking to, considering his behavior disrespectful. Rovia asks if she will punish him. The lady thinks he's being cunning, knowing the answer already, and says there will be no punishment. The fair-haired man asks if Iklot heard her words and claims that it is none of his business since he is free. Iklot insists on punishment. Rovia reminds him that His Highness has no objection to his behavior and orders them both to leave. That evening, the princess notices that Iklot is late. He apologizes, but she asks him to sit down and stop apologizing. The lady notes that the distance between them is shorter than usual. When the man begins to undress, she doesn't understand what's happening and finds his behavior strange. Iklot asks if he seems awkward. The lady replies negatively, and he touches her lips. She doesn't know how to react. The man asks if he can touch her. The girl is confused, trying to figure out if he's really talking about a kiss and why everything is happening so suddenly. Iklot lays her down on the bed and kisses her. She pushes him away and asks if he intends to sleep with her. Ria was afraid that he would despise her for referring to the war, but everything turned out differently. The man says he's following orders. She asks if that means he lacks desire and inquires about his own desire. Iklot explains that he humbly serves her as a concubine. If she doesn't like something, let her speak up, and he'll improve. The princess objects that this is not necessary. He recalls their conversation yesterday and asks her to trust him, asserting that she will never have anyone more faithful than her. Eldria says it's not a matter of mistrust. He deserves better. If he doesn't want to, she won't force him. She just wanted to talk. The girl apologizes for the misunderstanding, believing that he misunderstood her intentions. Iklot replies that an apology is unnecessary and asks what exactly she meant. The girl thinks an apology would be appropriate. The lady doesn't understand how she agreed to the evening meeting and why he reacts this way. The man puts on clothes, and the girl experiences strange and unpleasant sensations. Iklot says it's too late to talk and suggests discussing everything later. Ria grabs his hand, asks him to wait and take care of himself. She thinks it's important to say the right thing and admits that she enjoyed the kiss. The man nods, saying he understands, wishes her good night, and leaves. The princess is left alone, blushing with shame and realizing that she felt she shouldn't have let him go so easily. The girl knows that a man consumed only by thoughts of debauchery will not become a ruler. She finds it difficult to control herself in front of seductive men. Ria reflects that an ordinary person in her place would have gone crazy with desire long ago, but she must maintain control because Iklot is extremely sensitive to jealousy. The captain turns to Seeger and informs him it's time to go on shift. Seeger replies that he's just starting a pleasant nap, but he'll be up soon. The knight reminds Seeger that demotion is not a reason to take the squad's work lightly. Seeger is surprised, but the knight explains that duties may seem trivial, but pride lies in their performance. The man says he respected him as a commoner. Seeger asks if that means he doesn't respect him now, then apologizes and claps him on the shoulder. The guy decides to ignore it, but doesn't know what to do with a woman who is constantly watching him. Seeger thinks that she does not interfere, only watches from afar, with a pitiful expression on her face. The guy gets irritated, thinking she's crazy and not understanding her intentions. The head maid tells the servants to hurry, change the curtains, and checks the food supplies for the banquet. Drazy reflects on her first time participating in the preparations for such a large celebration. Hess notices her good mood. The maid agrees and says that tomorrow there will be a banquet in honor of the victory, there will be many delicious dishes, and she hopes to secretly steal something. Hess apologizes, mentioning that there are people her age downstairs. The girl is overjoyed, feeling her soul at peace after her recent fears. The maid tells Drazy that she likes Her Highness. The girl agrees, believing there's no other princess like her anywhere. The maid adds that the mistress is kind and has treated them many times. The rumors about her seem strange. Hess understands the reason for her kindness and strokes the girl's hair. The maid notes that everyone has been very worried since the appointment of her personal maid. The girl assures her that she's fine. The maid is happy and promises to help with any difficulties. Dracy asks when preparations for the banquet will begin. The lady is surprised, trying to understand what he's talking about. The maid explains that work has begun this morning, there's noise, and the dresses need to be prepared. The princess must look dazzling. Drazy offers to help her choose a dress. The princess agrees. The girl thinks the time has come to prepare. The maid asks what is usually done at a banquet. Rhea considers it natural to hold the banquet in the palace, since this is the first celebration in honor of Iklot's victory. Nadrika explains that depending on their contribution, guests receive orders, titles, and lands, followed by dancing and social conversation. The young lady realizes that she doesn't know anyone and is worried about what to do with the dance. The girl thinks that it would be better to hold the banquet in the main palace, as is usually done. The guy asks if she's nervous about the banquet. She wearily replies that the thought of a whole day of smiles is already tiring her out. Nadrika reassures the princess, saying she needn't smile, since no one will dare contradict her. She asks the young man if he would mind being her escort. The young man is surprised. The lady asks what's wrong, reminding him that people usually come to banquets in pairs. Rhea assumes he's embarrassed. The boy insists he can't help but want to go. The lady smiles and says it's all decided. The princess asks Drazy and Nadrika if they will help with the preparations. The maid promises to do everything necessary and offers to rely entirely on her. Nadrika asks if his presence will be a nuisance. The princess reminds him that he is accompanying her and assures him that he has nothing to fear. He agrees, believing that no one will dare say a word against her. The maid turns to the princess, says that she will leave them alone, and wishes them a good time. Hess announces that the banquet will begin soon. The princess thanks Drazy and says the maid can eat whatever she wants, as orders have already been given in the kitchen. The maid delightedly notes that the two of them look perfect together. Rhea says she'll be going then. The lady turns to Nadrika and asks what's troubling him. He explains that it's his first time at a banquet like this, and he's a little nervous. The main character thinks that if she had known that this was their first social outing together, she would have chosen a better place and time. The guy asks if she herself is worried, because there will be a lot of guests at the banquet, and this could create problems with her memory. The princess assures that she can handle it, and suggests hurrying so as not to be late. The young man believes that nothing terrible will happen, because the main characters always arrive on time. The emperor says that the brave warriors won victory for the sake of the empire. He places great hope in them and calls on them to defend their homeland and enhance its glory. The knights kneel and promise to give their lives for their homeland and serve the king. The protagonist is surprised, although the emperor sometimes seems immature. Being immature is in his blood. She understands that the banquet is dedicated to victory, but Iklot, the main hero of the celebration, has disappeared. The girl feels that the banquet will not be peaceful. The lady realizes that she almost got into trouble, but thanks to his intervention, she avoided disaster. The young lady thinks that if she had not met the empress, everyone would certainly have considered her crazy or scandalous. The young man explains that he did the right thing, but now he doubts whether his insolence was excessive. Suddenly, another man approaches the princess, and she smells alcohol, wondering how he could get so drunk. The girl notices that he seems familiar, and those around him do not stop him from approaching, which means they know how he is connected with the princess. The princess demands that he let her go. The man notices that she is unaccompanied and offers his assistance. The main character believes that he underestimated Nadrika and asks the man to leave on good terms. The man continues to insist and suggests that they have some privacy. Nadrika decides to intervene and knocks him down. The man screams, not understanding what's happening. The knights run up and take the drunk away. The lady asks if he's okay. The man screams that some stepson dared to touch him and declares that he is already a corpse. The princess orders the knights to let him go. The drunkard becomes indignant, insulting everyone around him. The princess grabs him by the neck and points out his lack of manners. He is surprised and asks what she's doing. The lady says he's being insolent and reminds him who he shouldn't touch. Then she orders him taken away. Nadrika asks if everything is okay with her. The princess replies that everything is fine. The guy apologizes for the noise and awkwardness. She reminds him that she's a princess, and such things aren't a problem. Ria suggests going out into the fresh air, as the air in the hall is heavy. The main character thinks that the impudent man ruined the party, but he got what he deserved, and she no longer wants to participate in the ball. Nadrika apologizes for attracting unnecessary attention. The princess wonders why he's even asking for forgiveness. Ria says everything is fine, hugs him, and thanks him for his help. The young man feels he hasn't done enough. The lady assures him that he has helped her greatly. Nadrika says he wants to protect her the same way she protects him. The princess agrees and promises to help him become that kind of person. The guy asks her if she understands what he's talking about. She's surprised. He decides to go get drinks and asks if she'll have red wine. The main character thinks that her appearance here was sudden, but gradually she got used to this world and its people. The girl understands that she has adapted to the circumstances and is coping, but she is interested in what lies ahead. Ria realizes she needs Uriel to understand the situation, but they are enemies, and there's no point in waiting for clues. But suddenly, the lady's hand slips from the balcony railing she was holding onto. The princess sees a flashing game window, decides she imagined it, and falls from the balcony, realizing that the second floor is safe. Edson catches her and she thanks him, feeling awkward. The man reminds her of her frequent apologies and says he'll leave. The princess thinks he might be reluctant to help. The gentleman grabs her hand and asks her to wait, because he wants to ask a question. The girl is surprised by his attention. He asks why she is helping him. The princess reminds him that she'd said before that she wasn't interested in him. The man remarks that it would have been easier to get rid of him, but she showed pity. Ria understands that he did not come for entertainment, but to see and interrogate her. Eldria asks how much he knows her. The man says he's only seen the worst, and asks why she's helping. The main character thinks that there is no way out, and suggests forgetting about everything. The girl says that if they don't run into each other again, the case can be considered closed. Edson asks if she knows the pain of a man who thinks about her every moment, laughing, sad, or spending time in the arms of another woman. Nadrika wants to approach the princess, but the knight stops him. Edson asks if it's worth forgetting everything. The other man decides not to eavesdrop any longer and tells the princess that someone is waiting for her. The lady understands that her disappearance was unexpected. She suggests keeping their distance to make things easier for both of them. Ria asks Nadrika if he was expecting her. He's surprised, and she explains that she ended up there by accident, suggesting they go back. Seeger thanks the princess for the introduction. She thinks she was about to leave, pretending not to notice him. The knight says that although she destroyed his country and killed his loved ones, his heart and mind are under her control, and he is completely devoted to her. Seeger believes that the other man is not admitting his feelings, and this will be his undoing. The lady calls him by name, and he is surprised that she remembers. The princess claims she remembers how hurt and disappointed he was. The lady asks if he compares himself to Edson and says that if he wants revenge, he should hide his feelings. The girl thinks that Edson's feelings are difficult to explain. Nadrika says that she wants to see the princess happy and suggests not to tie herself down to the past. The girl realizes that for him, she is a princess without memory and says that her past is also a part of herself, for which she is responsible. Ria thinks she feels strange in the palace, where she spent almost her entire life and thought she was forgotten. Meeting Iklot, she recalls how he wanted to join the imperial family and became a concubine, but today he was supplanted by another. The princess understands that the emperor is holding back Iklot and wonders why he arranged the ball in the princess's palace. Nadrika admits that she doesn't know how to dance regular ballroom dances, kisses her hand, and apologizes. Eldria thinks that he wants to give her up to Iklot, and the young man promises to dance with her another time. The aristocrats whisper that his husband had no character, and that the duke turned out to be an abandoned concubine. The main character is surprised that they continue to humiliate him, knowing how the princess treated him before. The lady understands that everything would end if he left, but he continues to sit like a devoted vassal. Iklot is the hero of the occasion, but is made a laughingstock due to the princess's disdain and cold attitude. The girl realizes that he is more important to her than just a concubine and offers him a dance, holding out her hand. The princess thinks that this is enough and asks him to help because she dances poorly. Rhea notices his smile. Iklat readily agrees, and they begin to dance. Lady realizes she stepped on his foot again and warns him of her awkwardness. The gentleman apologizes in advance for his rudeness. The princess forgives him and asks what he plans to do. The princess notices that her feet don't touch the floor. He assures her that's by design. A golden chandelier shines above their heads, and the lights around them create warmth, and the princess dances among the aristocrats, feeling as if she were in another world. Eldria admits that she thought she was the only one who needed him, but she understands that the relationship shouldn't be one-sided. The girl decides to be his support. Iklat thanks her and tells her she has nothing to worry about. The princess suggests calling her at any time if difficulties arise. A little while later, Rhea reflects that she wanted to leave the ball, but was tired of drinking too much. The lady notices Nadrika, who was waiting for her, and tells her that she stepped on someone's feet while dancing. The girl thanks him for the opportunity to talk to Iklat. He replies that he did so because he saw her concern. Rovia shouts at the princess, asking why she didn't come to him, and reminding her of his request not to trust another man. The man says he was waiting for her, and thought she would want to talk to him before the meeting, and before she laughed in front of everyone. The gentleman notices that she has not come, and asks if he is at least forbidden to do this. Rhea claims to trust Iklat. The man is surprised, asks if he's worthy of her trust, and believes his efforts have been in vain. The princess counters that his efforts are not in vain. Rovia offers to prove it immediately. The girl asks Nadrika if he can wait, and leaves with the gentleman. The guy says he'll wait in her room. The main character is surprised to see a lake associated with the memories of the former princess. Rovia says he first met her here. The lady asks if they should have an evening of reminiscence. The man reminds her of her promise to prove his efforts were not in vain. The woman feels awkward, responding affectionately, since those feelings are addressed to someone else. The protagonist says that this doesn't mean she loves him. He takes her hand and asks if she remembers what she said here. Rovia recalls that she said he was too jealous back then, and that she liked it. He brushes a strand of her hair behind her ear. The young lady thinks the atmosphere around her seems captivating. The man strokes her and leans in, about to kiss her. Rhea takes his hand away. He asks if he can't at least kiss her, and wonders if she dislikes him. The princess says that's not why he brought her here. The man reminds her that there was another man there that evening and asks if she remembers Audrin. The main character does not understand what he is talking about and assumes that the princess had another concubine. The gentleman says that she chose him, but kissed another, and wants to know if she wanted to see his despair. Rovia suggests saying that she chose him because she likes him more than the others. Meanwhile, the young lady believes the Princess Rovia no longer exists. She doesn't know what to do and considers apologizing by saying she doesn't remember. But she thinks it's best if he finally stops depending on the former princess. It seems that's exactly the answer he's waiting for. Rhea agrees that's true. She liked him better before. At the same time, she sincerely wants him to stop tormenting himself with doubts. The girl wonders why he's silent. It's a strange silence, and she wants to touch him, but he suddenly grabs her hand. Rovia says that Audrin Viad Cecilia is the name of an emperor who died 12 years ago. She could never mistake that name, and was never here with him. The man asks who she is, and demands an answer immediately. She screams, begging him not to touch her, and realizes she's been caught. The main character realizes that she knew too little about this world and could not relax for a minute. But besides Nadrika, Rovia is the person closest to her, and sooner or later he was bound to figure it out. She believes it couldn't have happened so quickly, and reveals she's lost her memory. The gentleman believes that there is no point in talking about memory loss. After all, she is a different person. Hearing this, the girl thinks he's certain of it. Rovia asks if he scared her. Rhea agrees and says he's right. She's not a princess. The man recalls that when he first met her in the library, he was enchanted and felt an irresistible attraction. After that, he began courting her and won her attention. Her acquaintances looked askance, but he enjoyed every meeting. When the boy made the bouquet, he came to the mistress, but the maid did not let him go. The princess was busy. He was sure he'd see her today, but instead he saw her with other men. So he became her concubine, her nameless plaything. The man was angry and ready for revenge. The main character asks him what he'll do and whether he'll tell everyone. He replies that he hasn't even thought about it. The girl asks why he forced her to reveal herself and what he wanted to get, assuming that he wanted to lie to get the truth out and blackmail her. The young man approaches Her Highness. The lady screams at him to stay back, takes a step back, and suddenly falls out of the boat. The young lady thinks about how quiet it is underwater. She seems alone in the world and wonders if she really existed or if she's always been a princess, and someone else's memories have entered her head. The girl reflects that she is simply a system error, and perhaps her destiny is to be erased from this world, but even so, she wants to live. At this time, Rovia saves the main character without hesitation. After some time, he tells the princess that he didn't believe himself. He'd fallen in love with her again, like a naive fool. But he realized it wasn't the princess he'd fallen in love with. Ria realizes it's a lie and asks if he fell in love with her. First the princess, then Uriel, and now her. The young lady believes she has too many reasons not to believe him. The boy insists he's not lying. He's realized she and the princess are different people, and that doesn't bother him. Eldria asks how deeply one must love someone. The man counters, that's something entirely different. Only she awakened such feelings in him, and what is that if not love? The girl asks him if he's sure she's not just another fling. He replies that he'd like it to be that way, but it's not that simple. The lady asks what he wants from her and whether he demands her acceptance of his feelings. She warns him that blackmail won't work and asks who will be trusted more. Ria warns him to be careful. She doesn't kill people, but she's capable of a lot. Rovia claims she's too kind. Lady asks what he means by that. The man said this story about the order was a fabrication. She genuinely felt sorry for him, wanted to console him, and asked what he knew about her. The young man insists she has a kind heart. The princess he knew was never merciful. The protagonist thinks she's been waiting a long time for these words. She was afraid and worked hard to change the princess's reputation. Now she's called kind. The gentleman asks to be allowed to stay by her side, since she probably doesn't trust him. He asks for a chance to prove he's on her side. The princess says she can't. The boy insists he'll still try to convince her and get her to feel sorry for him. The man says he won't ask for anything else and won't touch her without permission. Now he asks to be allowed to hug her. The girl wonders if Rovia has been thinking about this conversation for a long time. She asks if he's afraid of her. The young man replies that she's charming, and he's not afraid of her. The lady remembers she's not a real princess. She hid the whole truth from Nadrika and sought solace in his arms. Ria reflects that she felt guilty for Edson's mental trauma, but continued to pretend to be the ruthless Eldria. The princess basked in Iklot's care and attention, as if she had every right to it, but she understood that she was a fake Eldria. The main character realizes that since she came here, for the first time, she was able to be herself. Nadrika looks at the lady, thinking she's soaking wet. The lady asks if he's asleep. The guy replies that he's not sleeping. She says she needs to tell him something. She thinks he's the one who deserves to know the truth, so she decides to spill it all right now. The girl doesn't know where to begin. The young man suggests she just look at him and says that if it's hard, there's no need to talk. The princess admits she lied to him. She hasn't lost her memories. She's just a different person and not the princess he remembers. Nadrika says he knows. The protagonist is surprised how long it took him to realize this and thinks it's more important. The young man says that he understood everything on the day of their first meeting, when she took his hands. The princess would never have done that. Ria asks why he didn't say it right away if he knew from the beginning. Nadrika explains that he thought he could catch his breath for a while, get out of hell, but at some point he began to pray that it would last forever. The boy says he was afraid every time she fell asleep, and every morning he wondered if the princess had returned. He was tormented by doubts and the fear that if he told the truth, she would disappear. The young man asks her if she knows why he helped her, kisses her hand, and says she already knows the answer. Incidentally, he notices that Rovia has an idea too. The lady realizes he's observant. The boy says she captured his heart not as a princess, but as herself. Rovia was watching all along and uncovered the truth without causing harm. Nadrika asks if she's considering accepting him. He suggests she agree. She wonders why he's advising her and whether it has anything to do with her being a true princess. The young man replies no. The lady asks if she's a burden to him. He says he's afraid for her, but he's weak and can't protect her. The guy says it's painful to look at her and feel powerless. He hugs her, cries, and suggests she not hesitate to accept him as an ally. Nadrika asks the mistress to take care of herself for him, because he cannot lose her. For him, she is the most important woman in the world. Uriel came to see the gentleman. He asks how things are going and hugs her. The girl replies that it's bearable and asks how the woman is doing. The man asks why she keeps asking about her. She says she has no right to ask, since thanks to her work, she lives in a filthy shack. Uriel believes that her life is ruined because of her. He never once stood up for her and would have done something if he loved her. The girl asks if he's tongue-tied and assumes she's indifferent. He doesn't answer because he's speechless. The gentleman claims she has always been dear to him. The girl screams, revealing her distress. Uriel says that an ordinary servant was kicked out of the palace. For him, it's a trifle. Edson thinks she knows he thinks differently. She wonders if she should be grateful. The man says it's her fault she was exiled. The lady counters that she didn't do anything special. He speaks as if he were a saint. He explains that everyone makes mistakes. Some emerge unscathed and live happily ever after, while others can only complain. She's now one of the latter, and she's not happy about it. The guy wonders if this is really the woman he fell in love with. In moments of anger and confusion, she was the only one who kept him from drowning in despair. Uriel insists she won't forgive him. Edson suggests forgetting about the princess and moving far away from the palace. The gentleman announces that he has become a knight and now receives a salary. This is enough for a comfortable life, even for an aristocrat on the outskirts. Edson realizes that's enough. He thinks of the princess, who told him to keep his distance. Not too close and not too far. Uriel asks if he'll forgive the woman and laugh in her face. The guy reminds her it's better to forget and asks what came over her. The girl thinks he's acting as if he's already forgiven the princess. She considers him a noble fool, and it makes her sick. Uriel understands that he was like this from the very first time they met. He refused to be trampled by the princess for the sake of the people and agreed to give up his life simply to protect her. The girl thinks that since he is such a faithful knight, he should do what she orders. Edson says he understands her feelings and that she's all he has. He suggests they leave things as they are and leave. The lady wonders who wants to leave and since when do they only do what he wants. Uriel asks if he's forgotten her true nature, reminding him that she loves to play and manipulate. Who can guarantee she won't do it again? The girl screams, asking if he doesn't understand. She says that if she says a word, they'll be in danger, and asks if he believes the princess will spare them. The boy thinks it's possible, but at some point, Uriel, who seemed unchanged, and the princess changed, and he himself is no longer the same. The girl says that if he doesn't believe her, let him put this woman into eternal sleep. Then she will be able to run away with him and forget everything. A system alert informs Edson Villad that her request exceeds his allowance. If he doesn't withdraw the request, his interest will be reduced by 80%. If she revokes the request, no changes will be made, and the reduced interest level will not be restored. Options: A. Maintain the level. B. Suffer a penalty. Uriel says he's not asking to do it now, but he needs to be ready. Edson thinks he's ruined her. She hugs him and offers to take responsibility. She thinks she doesn't know how she got here, but she has to win. Nadrika wakes up, screams, and begs for forgiveness. He slept longer than Her Highness. The princess says she didn't mean to wake him. He cried a lot yesterday and was tired. The lady reports that there's a meeting on territorial negotiations this morning. She studied hard, but she's unsure if she can handle such responsibility. Nadrika insists she'll succeed. If it's Rhea, she should succeed. The lady thanks him, kisses him, and says she'll sort it out quickly and be back. The main character thinks she said it. In the morning, barely opening her eyes, she realized that the sharp headache and fatigue reminded her of something from a past life. The emperor proposes to begin the meeting. The topic is territorial negotiations with the Kingdom of Born. The girl thinks she has a cold. In reality, it's an official meeting, and she's the person in charge. She decides to take advantage of the situation and achieve her goals. Rhea wants to clarify the issue before discussing the main topic, why Sir Faces did not receive a military service award. She asks the reason for this injustice. The princess realizes that this is the answer to why Eichlat was not at the victory ball. The minister asks if he's not Her Highness's concubine. He believes that concubines aren't entitled to titles or lands. It's tradition. The main character thinks that he is the chancellor of the country and asks on what grounds he claims this. The Marquis believes the country will not be governed by a concubine. He asks if the princess wishes to reward Sir Faces. The gentleman offers to choose something from the luxury items permitted to concubines. The princess thinks he's treating her like a child, wanting something irrational. She claims he's talking about a reward he deserves for his enormous contribution to victory. The lady asks if he thought her words were a whim in lovemaking. After her words, silence reigned in the hall. The minister says that decisions about salaries, lands, or titles can only be made by the emperor. His Majesty informs that he is here today as an observer, will not speak out, and leaves the decision to the discretion of the princess. The lady thanks him and asks if he denies the importance of Surface's services. She thinks he wouldn't dare say so. Iklot, at the head of his army, broke through into the heart of the enemy and occupied a strategic height, forcing the enemy to sign a capitulation. His personal participation in battles raised the army's morale, which led to numerous victories. The gentleman turns to Her Highness and asks why they don't hear his personal opinion. He then invites Iklot to speak first. The protagonist realizes that he recently humiliated Iklot, claiming he has no right to interfere in state affairs. Now she's asking his opinion. The minister asks if Iklot wants to receive lands and a title for his military service, breaking with tradition. The princess thinks it's a dirty trick. He knew the answer all along. The young lady understands. Iklot will never publicly demand a reward. He has no choice but to refuse. The girl reflects that she expected him to uphold tradition. His silence suggests he won't object. The princess says she'd also like to ask something. She wonders if the audience is familiar with the book that describes the entire war, its pain, and the brutality of each battle. Eldria says that the valor of Surface, who achieved victory through hard work, is important. By ignoring the heroes, they risk losing the loyalty of their subjects. The main character asks if they will continue to refuse to acknowledge his merits. The gentleman notes that the Minutes Keeper's diary was not presented at the meeting as an official document. The princess says that after reading the book, she understands the enormous influence Surface has had on the outcome of the war. She asks if his subordinates will confirm this. The knights agree with Her Majesty and claim that she speaks the truth. The knights cry out that they demand that Surface's merits be recognized and that he be rewarded in accordance with his exploits. The princess turns to the gentleman and asks whether they will insist on their rightness in such a situation. The gentleman says that he does not deny the merits, but awarding the prize will cause difficulties. A woman enters the hall and, turning to the Duke, asks if he's being too loud. She heard he's already on his 10th concubine and owns a luxurious estate. The dark-haired lady says there are so many rumors about his wealth that one can only wonder if he'll turn the sea into his personal pond. She asks how he got so much. Icarus asks why she's here. The woman approaches the princess and says it's a pleasure to meet her. She's Sir Faces' deputy, Carrot Faces. The protagonist realizes she's the current Marchioness Faces. The Duke exclaims, "What are you doing?" The princess says that, judging by the Duke's words, he acknowledges Sir Faces' exploits. She also asks if his status as a young gentleman embarrasses him. Rhea clarifies that if he weren't a concubine, he could have received recognition and a reward worthy of a war duchess. He asks if she's right. The Duke confirms. The princess declares that Iklot Faze is, from this moment on, officially stripped of his status as a concubine, right here and now, in the presence of His Majesty. The man informs his master that he seems to have lost his head over a woman named Uriel. The only suspicious thing is that the maid visited her while she was working at the palace. The master asks the maid's name. The servant replies that it's easier to find out in person, but for now he'll try to find out what they're talking about. Rovia orders that everything be reported without exception, without missing the slightest detail. Edson, seeing the gentleman, asks what he's doing there. He replies that he came to find out why he hasn't run away. Rovia asks if he's leaving the country he hates of his own free will. She says she wants to hear at least one compelling reason. The gentleman asks if he has any hidden intentions. The prince claims he has no right to question him. Rovia asks if Uriel is keeping him here. Edson asks why he cares, since it's none of his business. The blonde guy asks if he realizes she's up to something. He wonders if he really doesn't notice, or if he's just pretending. Edson tells him to shut up. The boy asks if he still trusts her. The gentleman says he's not talking about what Uriel is like, or why he didn't abandon her like he did. The boy is surprised, asks if he abandoned her, and explains that she was never his. Rovia says that if he loves her, he should leave her at any cost and not do anything rash if Her Highness is not indifferent to him. The main character thinks the meeting is finally over. She tried not to show it, but her condition has worsened dramatically compared to this morning. The girl realizes it's a good thing they managed to convince everyone. Iklot's title has been restored, the territorial issue resolved. She hadn't expected open resistance. It would have been difficult without the book. The main character recalls how the maid reported that one night had been causing a commotion since the morning, and definitely wanted to see her. The man fell to his knees before the lady and introduced himself, Dasis. During the war, he served as a protocol officer for Mr. Eiklot and part of the army. The knight turns to Her Highness and insists that she must see this book. Eldria thinks she had to read the protocol and decide what to do next at the last minute. She wants to get into the room before anyone notices her ailing state. Eiklot asks the princess why she did this. The girl thinks he was not visible and thought he had left earlier with the Marchioness Physis. The gentleman asks if she has decided to leave him. The lady explains that he misunderstood. She has never considered leaving him, not before, not now, not in the future. She asks if he believes her. Eiklot insists he believes her. The lady asks why he thinks so. He replies that the lady has stripped him of his hostage status. Rhea explains that she wanted to thank him for his oath and loyalty. The princess asks if he is happy, because now he will be able to restore his position and get what he deserves. Rhea says Sir Defet will probably be pleased, since he was his student. Perhaps this will even make him stop hating her. She corrects herself and thinks about how best to explain everything to him. The main character realizes that she can't think straight because of her fever. The lady explains that she doesn't understand what she didn't like about her decision. She felt the relationship was dysfunctional and she wanted to start over. She asks if she made a mistake. Eiklot counters that she wasn't mistaken. He says it was his choice. But at that very moment, the girl feels that she can no longer hold on and faints.